Let me try you with the psychotype. You know the sort of thing, sick horror. We see it in the motion picture theaters. The man stabs the girl through the shower curtains, and the blood runs down the shower, and the money runs into the box office, and everyone is sicker in our sick world. You actually want to try out with some of this psychotype of horror? All right, here is some of the sickest.
Oh, how nice of you to come and visit me. I do not often have visitors here. We are so isolated here, you know. Oh, sit down, please. Do forgive me for being impolite. I'm just about to have my evening meal, and I'm very hungry. Oh, you look surprised? You do not see anything on the table? Well, wait until I get the box. Here it is. Yeah. Yes, here it is. Here it is. It is in this box that my meal is waiting. It is how do you Americans say it? A packaged dinner? Now, if you will forgive me, I will begin. There we are. Oh, but why do you gasp? It's just the head of a young girl. A pretty young girl. And this saw? Again you are surprised. But it is my very special saw. I have to work for my meals. Cutting through the bone is not easy. Forgive me. I must begin. Oh, I know what you're thinking. You think I am psychotic. I'm not psychotic. I'm just hungry. I like to eat brains.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Breakdown. Sybil Wells' gray head lies wearily on her pillow. Her eyelids are closed, as if it were too great an effort to lift them. She can hear Dr. Adams and her nurse talking, but they seem distant, remote, much farther away than the thoughts in her own brain.
She'll be all right now, nurse. Just give her this every hour.
Very well, Dr. Adams. It's amazing she's pulled through, isn't it? I've been ill. Very ill. For how long, I could not even guess.
It was a close call, but then she's always had a good constitution. I've known her for many years.
Since I was 20. Since before it happened to Father.
No, it's not her physical health that worries me. She's always been high-strung, nervous, like her father was. Before, well, I suppose you know.
Not my physical health. What does he mean? Why must he tell her that Father died in an insane asylum?
Poor Mr. Courtney. His family had to commit him. Mad as a March hare, of course. But each time I'd visit his cell, he'd plead that he was sane.
Yes, he'd plead he was sane. And his eyes would be wild and desperate. And dead of hope.
Sybil, I'm not mad. You're the only one who loves me, who cares if I live or die. Please, make the doctor understand. I've been railroaded here, Sybil, because I had money and they wanted it.
Oh, Daddy, I have to go now.
You don't believe me. You don't believe me either.
Oh, of course I do.
No. Oh, Lord, if you could only know how it feels to live among these dead and be considered one.
Oh, Daddy, please, please. I must go now. Goodbye.
Oh, Sybil. Sybil, I swear I'm sane. Sybil, I'm sane. I swear.
Tragic case. Well, I'll drop in tomorrow to see how she's doing.
Madness. The horror of vacuum. I guess I'd always feared it. I was sitting up in bed now. Except for the weakness, I could hardly recall that I'd been ill. Good morning, Nurse Kern.
Good morning, Mrs. Wells. I'll take that breakfast tray. And I think you're well enough to have the morning paper if you wish.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I haven't seen one for weeks. I settled back against the pillows and began to read. Earthquake, followed by fire, was yesterday for 33 miles along the shore. 14 people were many more injured. Authorities have the damage $4 million. It didn't make sense. I read another sentence, and then a different article. What was wrong with me? Oh, of course, my eyes. I'd been ill for so long, that's all it was. Nurse! Mrs. Curran!
Yes, Mrs. Wells?
Nurse, will you please read this newspaper to me?
Why, of course. Is anything wrong? You look so...
Oh, no, everything's fine. It's just my eyes.
I see. Well, what shall I read?
This one.
Earthquake followed by fire was yesterday for 33 miles.
She read on. Her face was grave and slightly bored. She showed no surprise, no puzzlement. The words made sense to her. It was only I who couldn't understand them. Only I to whom they were a senseless jumble.
People learning...
Stop it! Stop it! I don't want to hear any more. Please, just leave me alone, Nurse Curran.
But, Mrs. Wells...
Leave me alone, I tell you! Leave me alone! That was the first discrepancy in my mind. I don't know how long I've been hearing the music. It had seemed all part of a dream. But then it began to unnerve me. It became frenzied and hating and evil. It sounded like all the demons of hell and the things of the night were after me. Make it stop! Make it go away! Please!
Wells, what's the matter?
Oh, it's all right now. It's all right. The music's gone away.
The music? What music?
For a few days after that, it didn't bother me. Not till early one evening. I'd rung for Nurse Curran twice. Where was she? I was very angry. I got out of bed and went across the room to the door. Mrs. Curran! She was walking down the hall, her back toward me. And she had my little daughter by the hand. Elsie, my baby. Her sailor hat was bobbing over her curls as she skipped. She had on a blue flouncy dress and the long white stockings and Mary Jane she loved to wear. Elsie! Elsie, darling! Why didn't they stop? They walked right on as if I hadn't spoken. Nurse! They turned the corner, then out of my sight. I began to run. Do you hear me? Stop, Mrs. Curran. I want to talk to you.
Why, whatever is the matter, Mrs. Wells?
Where's Elsie?
Elsie?
Yes, my daughter. I saw you walking down the hall with her, and then you turned this corner, and now she's gone. Where is she?
I assure you, Mrs. Wells, I was with no one. As a matter of fact, I didn't know you have a daughter.
Oh. Well, I haven't any more. She was drowned with her father 20 years ago. I knew I had to be more cautious after that. For if Nurse Curran ever suspected, she'd tell the doctor. And I'd seen enough of those walls when I was a girl.
Well, how are you, Sybil? How does it feel to be downstairs for dinner?
Oh, if you're ready to eat, I'll start serving.
Why, Mrs. Curran, you needn't do that. Where's Mary?
Well, there wasn't much for her to do with you ill, Mrs. Wells, so when she asked to visit her sister for a few weeks, I didn't want to disturb you with details.
Oh, I see. That's all right, Mrs. Curran.
Then I'll get the soup.
Sybil, I've been worried about you.
Worried? Really?
You're not recuperating as quickly as you should. And, well, Curran's been telling me things that...
Yes. What has she said?
Oh, nothing much, really, but perhaps you're a bit more ill than we thought.
So she had noticed. I must be careful, very careful. Whatever happens, I must never let them send me there.
I said, will you have your soup, Mrs. Wells?
Oh, yes, please.
And you, Doctor?
Yes, thank you.
I took my first spoonful and could barely swallow it. The soup tasted far too salty. I was about to remark as much to the doctor when he said...
Delicious soup, Sybil.
Delicious. Oh, of course, George. Of course.
Sybil, what's wrong? You hardly touched a thing all through dinner.
Well, I guess I'm just not very hungry. Salt. Everything tasted of salt. First my sight, then my hearing, and now even this sense was playing me false. How long could I go on hiding what was happening to me? I think I should have resigned myself to insanity. If the very next afternoon I hadn't wakened early from my nap. I wanted some warm milk, and when Mrs. Curran didn't answer my ring, I went down to the kitchen myself. Nurse Curran, is that you? Oh, it was a child. A little blonde girl who greatly resembled my daughter. She was playing with a toy tea set.
Mother isn't here right now. She's gone to the village for some groceries. Would you like to have tea with me? It's only make-believe, of course.
Mrs. Curran is your mother?
Yes, I'm Jean.
She'd never told me she had a daughter, nor that the child was living in my house with her.
Here's your tea. Sugar or cream? Oh, I forgot. You only take salt in your food.
I only take salt. What do you mean, dear? I don't quite understand.
Oh, my mother explained to me. I asked her why she put so much salt in everything she brought you to eat last night. And that's what she said, that you only take salt in your food.
Jeannie, are you sure of that?
Yes, of course. I know who you are. You're Mrs. Wells, the funny lady we had to play a game with.
What kind of a game, Jeannie?
Well, dressing me in those funny clothes Mother found in the attic. And not looking around when you called to us. And then, when we turned the corner, I had to pop right into the linen closet and not make a sound until Mother called. It was like hide and seek. Only you didn't find me.
had been a hideous, twisted parody of hide and seek. But at last I knew I was not going mad. I had been terrified, blundering in the dark against an unknown opponent. But the game was clear to me now, and the rules, and the tricks, and most vital of all, my foe. Nurse Curran had tried to drive me mad, was still trying, but I could fight her. I had to fight her, for the stake was my sanity.
I guess that's Mommy now.
Now, Jeannie, listen to me. Your mother mustn't know I was down here talking to you.
Why, Mrs. Wells? Why shouldn't I tell her? Why, Mrs. Wells? Why shouldn't I tell her?
Well, it's a game, Jeannie. It's like that hide and seek we played, remember? Please promise you won't say anything about my seeing you this afternoon.
I promise. I promise, Mrs. Wells.
I needed patience now, and cunning. Mrs. Curran was trying to destroy my reason. I couldn't let her succeed. But I needed definite evidence. And then one day, a letter came. A letter? From me, Mrs. Curran?
Yes, it's postmarked New York City.
Well, now, who would be writing me from there? It's from my brother, Frank. He's coming to see me and bringing a friend of his along. Someone who can help me, he says.
When does he arrive, Mrs. Wells?
On the 24th, the 3:30 train.
Well, he didn't give you much warning. That's today, you know.
I wonder why he's coming.
You're his sister, and you're ill. What better reason?
Frank and I have always loathed each other. He's not traveling all this way for affection's sake.
It might be nice if I met the train.
Well, if you think he'd appreciate it, you're very much mistaken. By the time you get there, he'll probably have chartered the most expensive car in town anyway. Frank's a spendthrift and a wastrel. He ran through his share of my father's estate before Daddy was cold in his grave.
Just the same, it would be a nice thing to do, wouldn't it, Mrs. Wells?
Well, you know where the car keys are if you insist on being polite. Go ahead and meet him. Yes?
Special delivery for Mrs. Agnes Curran. That's your nurse, ain't it, Miss Wells?
Oh, yes, it is. I'll take it, Postman. She's not in right now.
I'm awfully sorry this is late, ma'am. But you see, one of our sorters put it in the regular mail route back, and I only just discovered it.
Oh, I don't suppose there's any great harm done.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope not. Well, goodbye, ma'am.
Goodbye. I shut the door quickly and stood turning the letter over in my hands, for I had suddenly recognized the writing on the envelope. It was Frank's. And how could he know the name of my private nurse unless they knew each other? George hadn't corresponded with him, I was sure. He was aware of the hatred between us. I quickly ripped the envelope.
Dear Agnes, just a line to let you know of Jean's safe arrival. I think your fears that Sybil saw her and suspects you are groundless, but perhaps it is safest this way. I feel sure that by this time my dear sister has passed, or at any rate is near, the breaking point. I'm coming down next Thursday and will bring a specialist with me. I am certain that when she tells him of her hallucinations, shall we call them, he will have no hesitancy in declaring her insane.
There it was, the whole fiendish scheme. I held all the proof I needed right in my hand. I called George and asked him to come over as quickly as he could. And then I'd barely gotten upstairs when I heard the front door open.
Sybil! Sybil!
Please, Mr. Courtney, she may have fallen asleep. She's still rather weak, you know.
Of course. I understand.
If you and Dr. Randall make yourselves comfortable, I'll go upstairs and see how she is.
Splendid idea, nurse. Mrs. Kern, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
If only George would come. Now the showdown was at hand, I was frightened. The nearer she came, the more frantically my heart beat. These next few minutes would decide so much for me. And I was alone. I felt sick with terror at having to face Mrs. Curran without George's comforting presence to reassure me, to make me know that everything would be all right. Because if I played my hand wrong now, if I couldn't convince the specialist of my sanity, I might never spend another night in this house.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I startle you, Mrs. Wells?
Well, I didn't hear you come in.
Your brother and Dr. Randall are in the parlor.
Oh, yes.
Well, don't you want to come down and see them?
We're not leaving this room just yet, Nurse Curran. Not until we settle a few things.
But I don't understand. Is there anything wrong, Mrs. Wells?
No. I'm just curious. Where did you have that trick newspaper printed?
What?
And how did you manage the music that night? Was it a phonograph record played from your room directly into the ventilator?
I don't get what you're talking
about.
Oh,
yes, you do. I've known for almost a week what you were up to, young lady. But I wasn't sure just why you were doing it or who was behind you. I am now.
You're crazy. I felt it all along. You're mad.
Oh, no, my dear. That was your aim, but you didn't succeed. You see this letter? The same stationery as the one I received today. The same handwriting, too. But this was written to you, Mrs. Curran. Fortunately, it wasn't delivered till after you'd left the house.
Give me that.
Oh, no. No. You'll have to kill me to get that. And I'd rather be dead than be in an institution. And we wouldn't want too loud a scene with that specialist downstairs, would we? He's not in my brother's pay, is he?
No. All right. You win. I was working for Frank. He promised me a share in the estate.
Why, I can't believe it. I simply can't believe it.
George. Oh, thank heaven.
Now, Sybil, don't cry. You know, she almost had me fooled, Sybil.
Well, here's the proof, George. A letter that Frank wrote to her.
Dear Agnes, coming down next Thursday, declaring her insane. Sybil, you'd better go downstairs and bring Dr. Randall and your precious brother up here immediately.
10 minutes before, I'd gone down these steps, an old woman. But everything was different now. The shadow had been lifted. I was free again.
Well. My dear sister, Sybil.
Don't you dare sister me, Frank.
Why, Sybil, and here I brought Dr. Randall all this way to see you.
To see me, indeed. To declare me insane so you could get your foul claws on the rest of Father's money.
Sybil, what are you saying?
I don't think I understand, Mrs. Wells.
I told her she was...
Mad? Insane? Yes, I'm sure you did. And it's no fault of yours that I'm not. Dr. Randall, a few weeks ago I was very ill. My brother took advantage of that by planting Nurse Curran with me. She took all her orders from him, and those orders were to drive me insane.
Oh, I never heard of such a thing. I hadn't realized she was quite so badly off as this, Randall.
Oh, there's no use your blustering anymore, Frank. George Adams has written proof upstairs. The letter you sent Mrs. Curran.
Why, I never wrote her my whole life. I never met the girl till today.
Suppose we go and see what this is all about. Well, Courtney?
Oh, of course. As you say, Doctor.
Frank's face was gray. Perspiration beaded his brow as we went back up to my bedroom. George and Mrs. Curran were standing by the window quietly when I opened the door. Here they are, George.
Yes. Thank you, Sybil.
Well, aren't you going to show Dr. Randall the letter?
What letter, Sybil?
The one Frank wrote Mrs. Curran. The one
There isn't any letter, Sybil.
But I gave it to you just before I went downstairs.
Mrs. Wells told me she had definite proof that Mr. Courtney was planning to railroad her.
It's terrible how convincing they can be. Isn't it, Randall? How very convincing.
I see.
George! George!
I could hardly bear to recognize those first signs, Dr. Randall. I've known Sybil for 30 years. She was very dear to me.
What did you do with it? Is it burned or torn into little pieces in your pocket, George? Where's that letter?
But I'm too much of a physician to blind myself to facts. She'll be happier.
Behind those walls, George, those walls where you and Frank put my father.
Come, Mrs. Wells. You'd better come with me.
No, you can't believe them. They're lying. No, please, no. You'd better take her right to the sanitarium. It's not safe to keep her here another day.
Yes, I'm afraid you're right.
I'll help you with her. We can use my car.
Don't touch me, George. Don't you come near me. Get your hands off me.
Adams, let her go. You seem to excite her unduly. Now, please, Mrs. Wells, take my arm. You know we want to do what is best for you.
Dr. Randall, please, I swear this on my eternal soul. There was a letter. It was special delivery written by my brother Frank to Nurse Curran.
I wish I could believe you, Mrs. Wells.
Watch your step, Sybil.
Don't be so solicitous, George. I'd rather you'd kill me than betray me as you have.
If there were one shred of evidence on your side, Mrs. Wells, one slightest bit of proof.
Oh, say, I beg your pardon, Miss Wells. I had to come all the way back again. I forgot to have you sign this slip on that special delivery for Mrs. Curran.
Adams, give me those car keys. And turn around. We're going back into that house. I think we've got a few things to discuss.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour.
Remember Hugo Carteret? Of course you do. The brilliant criminologist and charming gentleman who had such a wonderful flair for solving crimes, which carried a hint of the macabre and savored of the supernatural. He died back in the 20s, and they say that everybody from the 400 of Park Avenue to the 400,000 of the Bowery and Hell's Kitchen came to his funeral. Anyway, Hugo Carteret left his memoirs, and the very first chapter deals with an infamous crime, which in June of the year 1922 threw all of New York City into an uproar of horror. Such was the case of the Lonesome Corpse. Greystone Park used to be the private estate of old Caleb Greystone, eccentric recluse and incidentally millionaire many times over. When Caleb died, he willed the estate to the city of New York. The city fathers, properly grateful, promptly converted the estate into a park. It was public in that it was open to the public, but it had a private look because a 15-foot wall of polished stone completely surrounded it. One day, back in June of 22, a big car drove up to the only entrance. In the back seat of the limousine was William Marsden, wealthy lawyer and executor of the Greystone estate, and he had come to inspect the ground.
You wait here in the car, Edward.
Yes, Mr. Marsden. Will you be long, sir?
I don't think that's any of your business. I pay you to chauffeur me around, not to ask me questions.
Yes, sir. I was only bringing up the fact that it's getting dark, and you said you had to be at the plaza by 9.
I'm perfectly able to take care of my own business, Edward. I'll mind mine and you mind yours. You wait here in the car till I'm through in the park. Understand?
Yes, Mr. Marsden.
Extra, read all about it. William Marsden, prominent attorney, disappears in darkness of Greystone Park. Week-old case, riot and mysteries. Police fail to find clue. Read all about it.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah?
How do you suppose that big shot lawyer Marston disappeared? Think his chauffeur had something to do with it?
I don't know, Tom.
I don't get it. He tells his chauffeur to wait, walks into this here park, and never comes out. Chauffeur hears a scream inside the park, and that's all.
You scared too easy, Tom. Ain't that nice. Just broke my shovel. Well, I have to go over to the tool house and get another one.
But, Joe, the tool house is way over the other end of the park.
So what?
It's getting dark. It ain't healthy to be in this place after dark. Let's knock off, Joe. We can finish digging these flower beds tomorrow.
If we knock off, we'll both be looking for a new gardener job tomorrow. Andrew, the superintendent, told us to finish up tonight, and that's what we got to do.
Look, Joe, don't leave me. I got an idea there's something running around this park we don't know nothing about. When I think of that lawyer Marston,
So, you seen ghosts now, huh, Tom? Well, there ain't no ghost or nothing else that can scare Joe Donetti. You wait for me here. If you see a boogeyman, why, just offer him a drink and ask him to stick around, huh?
Greystone Park claims second victim. Park gardener leaves companion for tool house and never returns. Police call in Hugo Carter at his public demand solution. Read all about it here,
Police headquarters, Sergeant Hogan speaking. What? You saw a light floating around in Greystone Park? What kind of a light? Purple, eh? You see anything else? What? A white ghost walking down the park road, eh? All right, don't get excited. We'll send a squad car to investigate right away.
Hello, Sergeant Hogan.
Oh, hello, Mr. Carteret. Miss Smith?
Oh, I see you know my special assistant.
Of course he does, Hugo. The sergeant and I are old friends. We met at the policeman's ball.
Keeping you busy these days, Sergeant?
Busy? Mr. Carteret, we sure need your help in this case. The commissioner's going nuts inside. And you ought to hear the double talk coming in over this wire. This Greystone Park business has got the people living around there walking around in circles. They're seeing everything from the king of the pixies to the ghost of my great-grandmother.
I don't wonder. I've been working up a few shivers about it myself.
Is Commissioner Williams in, Sergeant?
Yeah. Go right into his office, Mr. Carteret. He's expecting you.
Thank you.
Here comes another screwball report.
Come on, Ann.
Police headquarters, Sergeant Hogan speaking. What? You heard some kind of animal howling in Greystone Park? What kind of animal?
So Joe Donetti left you to get a new shovel, eh, Farrell? And then a little later, you heard a scream.
Yes, sir. It come from far off, and it must have been Joe.
Oh, hello, Hugo. Miss Smith?
Commissioner?
Well, I guess that'll be all, Farrell. Stay pretty close to home, though. We may need you later.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that was Tom Farrell, the gardener. Hard to get anything out of him. He's so jittery. He's convinced there's some kind of murdering thing running around loose in that park. So is Marsden's chauffeur. And I'm convinced they're both telling straight stories.
I trust you searched the park thoroughly, Commissioner.
Oh, of course I have, Hugo. Had a detail practically scrape every foot of the area with a fine-tooth comb.
And you found nothing, Commissioner Williams?
Nothing. Until yesterday morning.
Oh, you have a clue?
Yes, if you want to call it that, Hugo. But, well, it's almost incredible. Fantastic on the face of it. Hugo, we need your help badly. We're at our wits' ends down here, and I haven't even asked.
Well, naturally, Commissioner, I'd be delighted. There's a touch of the macabre and supernatural here that I find very interesting. Don't you, Anne?
I'm not so sure.
Now then, Commissioner, you said something about a clue.
Yes. Donetti, the missing gardener, was wearing hobnail shoes. The road was soft from the recent rain. and we were able to trace his footsteps as far as they went.
What do you mean, as far as they went?
I mean those footprints stopped dead in the middle of the road.
What?
Right next to Caleb Greystone's tomb in the center of the park. It was just as though some giant bird of prey picked Eddie up and carried him off.
But, my dear Williams, that doesn't make sense.
I know it doesn't, but it happened.
Eddie couldn't vanish like that, unless he had wings.
Maybe he does have wings now.
You know, Anne, I can't get those footprints out of my mind. They interest me.
They scare me.
In fact, I think I'll stop in at Greystone Park and have a look at them.
You mean now?
Yes.
Oh, but Hugo, it's midnight, and there's something dangerous roaming around in that park. Something deadly. Why not wait until tomorrow in the daylight?
Because the things that happen in Greystone Park, Anne, seem to happen at night. Well, here we are.
Yes. Peaceful, serene Greystone Park. The place that people just hate to leave.
You should have let me drop you at your apartment, Anne. This is no place for a girl.
Oh, no, Mr. Carteret. I'm going right with you.
Well, here's the gate. It's the only entrance or exit. Let's try it. There. Neatly locked with a heavy iron chain and padlock.
The police want to keep people out, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
Either that or they want to keep something in.
The thing in this park couldn't be stopped by chains or padlocks.
Well, they're not going to stop us either. Here, Anne, I'll boost you up to the top of this stone wall and climb up myself. Come on. There you are. How's the view up there?
Oh, lovely.
Now then, Mr. Carteret, let's see what kind of a second-story man you are. I haven't done this since I was a boy. This wall is higher than it looks. You all right, Anne?
Just dandy.
Well, now, I'll drop down and then catch you. All right, Anne. Just let yourself go.
All right, but don't miss.
There you are.
Listen, what was that?
Only the wind.
Oh, I thought I heard someone calling.
Why, Anne, you're trembling.
You're telling me. Hugo, where are we going?
Up this road until we reach the place where that missing gardener's footprints stop.
Right next to that big square tomb in the center of the park, according to Commissioner Williams.
Mm-hmm. That's the Greystone Mausoleum. All that remains of old Caleb Greystone, the philanthropist, lies within it. And that's the statue of old Caleb himself, standing on the roof of the tomb.
How nice. I hope you realize that William Marsden and Joe Donetti walked along this same road at night, and they did...
What's wrong?
I felt a cold hand on my face.
That isn't a hand, it's a leaf on the end of a twig. Poor kid. You're frightened, aren't you?
Who, me? I'm scared to death. I'm so scared my hair's standing on end. It's ruined my permanent. Oh, Hugo.
What is it, Anne?
That statue on the top of the mausoleum. The statue of Caleb Greystone.
Yes? Well, what about it?
It moved.
What? Now, wait a minute, Anne.
Hugo, I tell you it moved. I saw it lift one of its arms and turn its head in the moonlight.
Now, Anne, it's just that you're on edge. What you saw was a mirage brewed out of moonlight and your own imagination. That statue's made of stone. Stone statues don't move. Come on, we leave the road and go down this hollow. Well, here we are. Here's the tomb. And here's Donetti's footprints, just as the commissioner said. They're pretty faint, but... Wait a minute.
What is it, Hugo?
Look up at that statue of Caleb Greystone. Up there on the mausoleum roof.
What about it?
Well, when we saw it on the other side of the hollow, it faced toward the road, didn't it?
Why, yes.
Now it's facing away from the road.
And it did move, Hugo. It did move.
More than that, Anne. While we lost sight of it down in that hollow, it turned completely around.
the strange phenomenon of the restless statue intrigued Hugo Carter at no end. Like a hound after his quarry, he scrambled to the roof of the mausoleum and made a thorough examination of both the statue and the roof in the moonlight. He reported his findings to Police Commissioner Williams, and the next morning, in the light of day, they revisited the scene.
You two up there had better be careful. That roof's slippery.
Oh, we'll be all right, Anne. Here, Commissioner. Watch what happens when I grasp this statue.
Yeah, interesting, Hugo. It turns loosely on that upright bar.
Yes. And I've no doubt that old Caleb Greystone is turning down below in his tomb at this sacrilege we're committing on his image. You know what, Commissioner?
What?
This statue isn't marble through and through. It's merely a marble surface on a light aluminum base. A man could lift it right off this support and walk off with it over his shoulder.
Yes, he could. Well, not that it proves anything. But these scratches on this polished stone roof, May, almost looks as though they led to the door of the crypt on the other end of the roof.
It's hard to tell. I tried the door of the crypt last night. It was locked. Yeah, it's still locked.
Hey, it's a massive tomb. Big enough to take care of 20 dead millionaires.
Yes, you'd think old Caleb Greystone would be pretty lonely down there.
And his condition to be lonely anywhere. Well, Hugo, where do we go from here?
Let's have a talk with the park superintendent, Commissioner. His office is over there on the left. Maybe he'll be able to throw a little light on the proceedings. As the old saying goes, you never can tell.
Mr. Andrews, this is Hugo Carteret, the criminologist, and his special assistant, Miss Smith.
How do you do?
Andrews, how do you do?
Oh, yes, I've heard of you. How do you do?
As superintendent of the Greystone Park, Mr. Andrews, we thought you might give us a little information on that tomb.
Always glad to help the police, Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. Now then, has that statue of Caleb Greystone always faced the road?
Why, yes, as far as I know.
It doesn't now, Mr. Andrews. You can see for yourself through the window.
Why, bless my soul, you're right, Mr. Carter. Well, how do you suppose that happened?
That's what we hope to find out.
Interesting idea to build a statue of yourself and put it on your own mausoleum.
Mr. Greystone had it made in memory of himself as a reminder to the public that he had converted his private estate into a park for their benefit.
Mm-hmm. Somewhat of an egotist, huh?
And from what the newspaper files say, eccentric. They practically accused old Caleb of dealing in black magic and selling his soul to the devil.
Oh, I understand the whole family was rather peculiar, Mr. Andrews.
Well, yes, I suppose it's true. There were all sorts of rumors. Old Caleb was the eldest son, and he hated the rest of his family. Cheated them out of the family fortune, they say. It's said that he drove his own brother Arthur into poverty.
Yes, I remember the case. Arthur Greystone disappeared. Bureau of Missing Persons never did locate him.
Mr. Andrews, that mausoleum out there is a pretty massive affair. Is old Caleb the only one buried there?
Yes. As I said, he hated the rest of the family. He specified in his will that only he was to be buried there.
That wasn't very hospitable of him.
So old Caleb has that whole place all to himself, huh?
What are you getting at, Hugo?
Yes, that's what I'd like to know, too.
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. It's just that these cases of abnormal psychology interest me. Yes, Commissioner, they interest me no end. Come in. Oh, hello, Anne.
Hello, Hugo. Relaxing at the piano, I see.
Yes. Would you like me to stop?
No, I like that melody you're playing.
So do I. You know, music brings a certain clarity to the jumbled mind. It resolves things. It's a mental lullaby. Where have you been, Anne?
Down at police headquarters. Poor Commissioner Williams.
Why poor Commissioner Williams?
Every newspaper in town is clamoring either for a solution to this Greystone Park mystery or a new police commissioner.
Yes, I know. It's a pity. You know, Anne, Frank Williams is not only a gentleman, he's our friend. I think the time has come for us to try and crack this case.
The time has come, all right, but how?
Well, we've seen the outside of Caleb Greystone's tomb. It might be interesting to have a look at the inside.
The inside?
Yes. I've got an idea that's where our solution lies.
But how are you going to get in? That door of the crypt on the roof is locked tight.
Well, Anne, if I may boast a little, I have a certain skill with burglar tools.
Yes, I know, but you can't go there in broad daylight and burglarize somebody's mausoleum.
I don't propose to go there in broad daylight.
You mean we're going tonight?
I mean, I'm going tonight. I'm taking you home right after dinner.
Oh, no, you don't. You need someone to hold your flashlight. And besides, I'm just mad about mausoleum. Oh, it's a lovely evening. And outside of this storm, it's just as black.
Oh, look out, Anne. This stone roof is slippery. Careful now. The door of the crypt is right over here. Now keep your flashlight trained right on this lock. But wait a minute. How did that happen?
How did what happen?
Why, the door of the crypt is unlocked.
Unlocked?
Yes. Somebody's been here ahead of us.
Oh, dear. It's awfully dark down there. What are we going to do now?
We're going inside.
But there may be someone in there.
But I'll find out. You wait out here, Anne.
Oh, no, Hugo Carteret. I'm not going to stand out here alone. I'm going in with you.
Have it your own way. We'll take this hammer with us. It may come in handy. Careful now. There are stairs leading down into the crypt. You stay close to me.
Hugo, I'm practically hugging you to death right now. Oh, it's cold in here.
Well, it's dry at any rate.
It's dark as pitch. I can't see a thing.
Here, Anne, you take the hammer. Let me have the flashlight. Now, let's have a look.
Oh, Hugo, look. There are two men lying there on the floor. They must be...
Yes. The two men who disappeared in Greystone Park. William Marsden and Joe Donetti.
Are they?
Yes, I'm afraid they are. Oh, poor devils. Nobody would think of looking for them in here.
How were they killed?
They've got deep red marks around their throats. Typical of some kind of strangling cord.
Oh, it's horrible. Why were they brought here? Why would anybody want to do a thing like this?
The motive, Anne, like everything else in this tragic case, was abnormal. I'm beginning to see now why. Anne, listen.
Footsteps on the roof. Someone's up there.
Yes.
Stopped by the crypt door. Hugo, do you think it's the restless statue?
Perhaps. I do know it's the killer. And he's coming down the steps. Put out that flashlight and flatten yourself against the wall.
Good evening. Oh, come now. I know you're in here. I can see in the dark better than you think. I have eyes like a cat. I saw you coming through the trees. I left the crypt door open for you. You walked right in, you fools. You walked right in.
Who are you?
Why, my name is Arthur Greystone. This is the Greystone tomb. I live here with my friend.
So you killed these two men?
Yes, it was lonesome here. I wanted my brother Caleb over there in the casket to have company. He wanted to sleep alone in this big, beautiful mausoleum. It was so selfish of him, so selfish. But now he has two others to sleep with him. And soon he'll have four.
You took the statue of your brother off the supporting rod, didn't you, Arthur? It was light enough to carry. You hid it here in the tomb and posed as your brother's statue. In the dark, your victims couldn't see that the statue was alive. You dropped a cord around their necks as they passed below.
You're very clever, my friend. No, I wouldn't move if I were you. I have the strangling cord here in my hand, and I'm very good at using it.
Why did you do all this?
My brother Caleb cheated me in life. Drove me into poverty. Then he tried to cheat me even in death. He built this tomb and willed that only he would sleep here.
This is your idea of revenge, filling his tomb with sleeping companions.
Yes, I waited years to get even. Caleb wanted to be alone, but now he'll never be alone. He'll never be able to realize his dying wish. Well, this talk has been very pleasant. Yes, indeed, but now we must get to work.
What do you...
I'll take you first, young lady. Please don't try to resist. I assure you I'm very strong. And really, I don't want to make you suffer.
Look out, Anne! I can't you blind me with your flashlight, will you? You fool, I'll strangle you with my bare hands! I'm stronger than you, do you hear? Nice work, Anne. You handle a hammer like a carpenter.
Oh, Hugo, I'm afraid I killed him.
No, you just stunned him, that's all, Anne. I'll tie him up in his own cord in a moment. But first, let's have a good look at him with this flashlight. Lift that white hood of his, will you, Anne?
Hugo, it's Tom Farrell, the gardener.
And so ended the case of the lonesome corpse, and another chapter in the memoirs of Hugo Carteret. Arthur Greystone had disappeared, only to reappear close to his brother's mausoleum as Tom Farrell, the gardener, a convenient alias. And the city of New York breathed a certain relief when this murderer, obsessed and poisoned by his macabre idea of revenge, finally went to the chair.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour.
It's mystery time. Time now for the best in mystery. Tonight, on Masters of Mystery, an exciting melodrama titled Death Walked In.
Get away from that phone or I'll kill you.
You're bluffing, Julie. I know you are.
Julie! You were wrong, Ed. I wasn't bluffing.
Good evening. This is Don Dowd, your host for Mystery Time, back again to introduce another in ABC Radio's great Monday through Friday lineup of mystery dramas. Every night at this time, a new and different story. Our drama tonight on Masters of Mystery was written by Joseph Ruskall and is titled Death Walked In. The action of our story covers the course of only a few days, but I think you'll agree with me that the moments are filled with emotional impact and suspense. So now, live on Masters of Mystery, Death Walked In.
You know me, Ed Grimes, real estate. Respected. A solid citizen till this happened. Till death walked in. It doesn't always lurk in dark corners. It can come into your parlor, like it did in Noir's. Hannah's and mine. It could be someone innocent looking, like the attractive young woman with books under her arm who rang our doorbell one afternoon.
Yes, you're Mrs. Grimes? Yes, I'm Mrs. Grimes. May I speak to you a moment? A friend of yours, Mrs. Tillingham, sent me. Oh, yes. Please come in. Thank you. I'm sorry I kept you waiting so long, but I'm simply morbid about answering the door when my husband's away. You say Mrs. Tillingham sent you? Why, yes. You see, I just placed one of these valuable library editions in her home, and, Well, she mentioned you as a likely prospect. Oh, you're selling something. Oh, no, absolutely nothing, Mrs. Grimes. We're practically giving it away. This complete set of encyclopedias, just as you see them in this brochure. You see, we're giving them to special and selected families just for a limited time and as a special advertising campaign. Oh, no, not today, Well, for thank practically nothing more than the price of the postage, this complete world famous... But we already have a set of encyclopedias. You're not from hereabouts, are you? No, I work town to town. I just arrived here. From where? Carterville. Carterville. Did you do well there? So. Oh, you look tired and cold. Come on into the living room and sit a while. Well, thank you. Can I make you a cup of tea, Miss... Smith. Julie Smith. No, thanks. Oh, those gorgeous drapes. It's so right. So awfully right and so expensive. How nice of you to say so, Miss Smith, but they're really not. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a home like this. But then I'd have to have a nice man to go with it, wouldn't I? To keep it up. Oh, say like that gentleman there on the grand piano. Oh, why, how observant you are. Yes, that's my husband's photograph. Would you call him handsome? Not handsome exactly, but strong and solid. Oh, will he be home soon? Looks like he's detained at his office. Well, perhaps if I came around tomorrow at this time. Well, I can't promise a thing. I'll ask him. But do come around anyway. We'll have a cup of tea.
Encyclopedias? Are you out of your mind, Hannah? Why do we need another set? We've got one. Nothing doing.
Dear, she'll hear you.
Hear me? Where is she?
In the kitchen. This is twice she's called now. Oh, my heart melts for that poor girl. She's had such a hard life, bringing up a large family, canvassing house to house. Oh, we just can't turn her away without a sale. It wouldn't be charitable.
Darling, do you have to let in every stray alley cat that comes to the door?
Now, Ed, don't talk that way. Here she comes. Oh, there you are, Julie. Come and meet my husband. Ed, this is Miss Julie Smith. In reference to those books I was telling you about?
How do you do?
How do you do, Mr. Grimes? I feel I already know you from that picture on the piano. Now, Mr. Grimes, about the encyclopedia.
$85. What made me do it? Shelling out $85 when we've already got a set.
No one forced you, Ed. You could have said no. Why did you do it?
That's just it. I don't know. She looked at me and I don't know. Devil take her.
Well, what's done is done. It's a good, kind deed anyway. She's delivering the books to us tomorrow night. And when she comes, I want you to put a pleasant face on it and be civil to her. Please, Ed. Would you like more tea? Oh, yes. Yes, thank you so much. My. Oh, those books look lovely. Of course, I have no idea where we're going to put them. Where do you live, Miss Smith? Well, I'm homeless at the moment, I'm afraid. My landlady locked me out. I owe rent. Oh. I'm not doing half as well as I did at Carterville. If I could only find some place to stay tonight. You see, I'll have plenty of money tomorrow for my Carterville commission. Well, I think it's time I go. Thing, you have caught an awful cold. And now look, my husband's due home any minute, and I'm sure he won't mind a bit if you stay here with us for a few days. Mrs. Grimes back from marketing. Oh, and I got the most wonderful rose. Oh, Julie, you're an angel. But really, you shouldn't just because you're feeling all right again. I'm perfectly able-bodied. No, you sit right where you are in your rocker and relax. I'll tend to these. Oh, and here's your morning paper. You see, I didn't forget that either. You're a dear. Now, you just sit and read all the gossip and let me run this house. Oh, did my luggage arrive? Just a while ago. I put it up in your room. Well, it'll only be for a few more days or so. Of course, your husband doesn't think that...
Oh, nonsense. You're perfectly welcome to stay a few days more, I'm sure. Good heavens.
What's wrong?
Oh, my gracious. In the very next town, too. Listen to this. Carterville man confesses wife murder. In an astonishingly gruesome confession to police today, a Carterville merchant, Dudley C. Whipple, confessed that...
How was the murder discovered?
Conscience. That's how it was discovered. Everyone thought his wife died a natural death. There she was lying in her grave a whole week when suddenly her husband gets pangs of conscience and confesses she was poisoned.
Did they live on 22 Elm Street, does it say?
Why, yes. Yes, how'd you know?
Oh, I sold them a set of books.
You did? Why, that's right. You told me you were in that town for a while. Well, imagine.
Poor Mrs. Whipple. She was such a nice lady, and she had such a lovely, lovely home. Oh, that cake for tonight. Did you take it out of the oven?
Oh, yes, I did. Don't worry. Well, think of it. You actually sold that couple.
Did Mr. Grimes like the last cake I baked?
Well, of course, dear.
That's very kind of you to say so, but I know he dislikes me. He resents my presence here, I know.
Why, Julie, what makes you think so?
Way he avoids me.
Oh, now.
He hates me. He wants me out of here. Yes, he does. Oh, Mrs. Grimes, I owe you so much, and I'm so grateful, but I just can't stay here the way he treats me.
Nonsense. Mr. Grimes is just as happy as I am about this little temporary arrangement. And if he isn't civil to you, I'll tell him a thing or two. Do you hear me, Julie? So, what are you staring at?
Parlor, Mrs. Grimes. You know, if you let me, I could really do things with it. This table here, for instance. I'd put it over there. That chair could go here. So much could be done. Hello?
Oh, hello. Where's my wife?
At the dentist. She'll be back soon, Mr. Grimes. Notice anything?
Huh? Well, hey. What? Is this my house? It's different. Well, the whole room looks different. Well, who did it?
I did. Oh, with your wife's consent. How do you like it?
Oh, not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. It is better, indeed it is.
At last, to find a married man with an autistic eye.
Oh, why married man?
I don't know. They lose a sense of beauty somehow, and wives so often take their husbands for granted. I never would. You remind me of someone.
Who?
Man in Carterville.
Why?
I don't know. Oh, do you mind if I turn on the radio?
No.
Do you dance?
Dance?
If I were alone right now, you know what I'd do?
No, what?
Dance alone. I like to dance alone. Do you mind if I do anyhow?
Go ahead.
I like to dance. I love to dance around and around.
You're very graceful, Julie.
I'm young. He was a weakling, though.
Who?
Man in Carterville. You seem different. You don't like me, do you?
What makes you think so?
Why do you always avoid me? Never mind. I'll be leaving tomorrow.
You will?
Won't you be glad to get rid of me? You like to look at me, though, don't you? I've seen you looking at me. Like you are now. Just like you are now. Ed, think I'd make someone a nice wife?
Ed, Julie came to me again in tears. With her suitcase all packed, she wanted to leave. Just because you've been behaving so brutally to her. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, that's what. Driving that poor girl to tears.
What are you looking at, Ed?
Me?
I wonder why. But you look at me while you can. I'm leaving soon. Will you miss me when I'm gone? Please say you'll be nicer to her, Ed. Go out of your way the few more days she's here to make her feel at home. One of the family.
Hannah, that girl must go. There's something about her, I tell you. I have a strange feeling that for some weird reason she's wormed her way into our home in order to...
To what, dear?
I don't know. Maybe it's a premonition or something. I think that when she rang the doorbell that time, Hannah, she's going to pack her bags and get out right now.
Park here. Here's a nice lonely spot. Well, what are you waiting for? You wanted to tell me something. You started to up in my room. Took me out here. I wonder why. Kiss me, Ed.
Julie.
I knew it all the time. I knew it had come to this. I do things to you, don't I? From the moment I first saw you, I could tell. What if your frumpy old wife could see us now?
Shut up.
I wonder what she'd say.
Stop it, you...
All right. I understand. You had to slap me because you're not used to this.
What's happening to me? Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you want?
You? Kiss me again.
Julie.
I knew you couldn't send me away. We're right for each other. I like you. You want me bad. Add it. Then subtract. All we've got to do is subtract it. You know what I mean.
What are you talking about?
Well, what do you take me for? Some cheap thing? Oh, no, Ed. I come expensive, and my price is a wedding ring.
I'm a married man.
I like married men. I want one. They've already got brick bungalows with lovely furnishings. I'd make you a real nice wife, Ed.
Do you think I'd ever divorce her for you?
I knew a man in Carterville said just that. He didn't like divorce either. But he wanted me bad. Real bad, like you. And in the end, there was another way.
Oh, you're the limit. Half the time I don't know what you're raving about. You're so crazy. You're crazy, wonderful. Come here.
Hands off, please. Drive me to the station.
What?
I'm grabbing the first train out of town like you told your wife. Now, kindly get started.
Julie, you can't leave now.
Why can't I?
Because I can't let you... No, Julie, don't go now. Please, not now. Oh, Julie.
That's better. I'll come back, sure. But you know what it means if I do it. If I come back on one condition, you'll have to get rid of her. Sooner or later. Some way or other. Oh, I declare, Mrs. State, that lively mind of yours. Ed and Julie, ridiculous. He positively dislikes her. He's hardly exchanged 2 words with her. Oh, that's the best one I ever heard. How much longer are we going to wait, Ed? I'm not waiting any longer. We've got to get rid of Hannah.
But, Julie,
It's easy. All you do is do it. Do it quickly and it's done.
Julie, I can't. I can't divorce Hannah. I'd rather die. And she'd never divorce...
Who's talking about that? You always pretend you don't know what I mean. You know well enough. Inside your heart jumps like mine because you know we're going to do it.
No.
It's the only way. Ed, you'd be surprised how easy it is. Remember, I once told you about that weakling from Carterville? That thing he used? No pain and no one would ever know. You get it in a drugstore. I can get it today, and tonight at dinner you'll pretend some food spilled on your trousers. When Hannah turns, well, I'll slip it into a cup of coffee. Well, Ed, will you or won't you?
Julie, I'll do it.
Scorching hot coffee, just like you like it, Ed. No, Julie, don't get up. I swear the way that girl spoils me, Ed, doesn't let me do a thing. Why, she runs this house much better than I ever could.
Oh, now, Mrs. Grimes. Now, you just sit down.
You see that, Ed? Draws up my chair, treats me like a queen. But I have revolted. I insisted that she at least let me make the coffee. That reminds me. Oh, the silliest rumor I heard today.
What was it?
Oh, well, it isn't even fit to repeat. Sit down, Julie, and drink your coffee. How is it, Ed?
Fine, honey.
Oh, Mr. Grimes.
Yes?
Weren't you supposed to do something for me? Mr. Grimes.
What's that, Julie? Do what?
Nothing.
What is it, Ed? Why, Julie, whatever are you fidgeting with that purse of yours?
Oh,
Goodness, what's wrong with you, Ed?
I spilled some coffee on my trousers.
Rub water on it quick or it'll stain. Oh, land's sake, Ed, it's a new suit. Couldn't you be a little more careful?
Well, it's all right, Hannah. Just a drop.
It's delicious coffee. It does smell good, if I do say so myself.
Hannah, don't.
Don't what?
And then nothing.
Well, you are a mistake tonight. Tastes good, too. Well, what about the movies after we get everything cleared away? There's a new picture down at the... This coffee. Something's burning. Choking. Help me, Julie. Help me, Ed. Ed, I thought you loved me.
Hannah. I do, Hannah. Forgive me. I was out of my mind. You'll be all right. I'll get a doctor.
Get away from that phone, Ed. Put down that phone. Drop that phone, Ed, or I'll kill you.
Hello.
I've got a gun, Ed. If you don't drop that phone...
Hello, Dr. Meadows.
Julie, don't believe me. You're going to put down that phone? No? You want a second bullet? Okay, then here it...
Order, lady. Drop that gun.
No, you don't. I'm not afraid of the police. You won't take my home away from me, not this time. My home. My beautiful home.
What happened here, Mr. Grimes? You hurt bad? I'm all right, Officer Jelling. Kirk's my wife. She's been poisoned.
We'll get her to the hospital right away. Oh, the girl here is dead.
Hannah? She's unconscious.
We'll get her to the hospital. Then you'll come with me to headquarters. There are a few questions you'll have to answer.
Questions?
There's a statewide alarm out for this girl. We traced her to your home, and I was on my way over here to warn you. She was wanted in Carterville, Glen Springs, several places. Complicity in half a dozen homicides.
Julie, a killer?
All women are victims. Wives. Poison, just like in your wife's case. You gonna confess?
Confess? Me?
They usually do with the husbands. But you know, Mr. Grimes, I kind of feel sorry for that girl. She was plenty confused, but strangely enough, on only one subject. You see, she was brought up in an orphanage, and she never had a home of her own in all her life. Well, let's go, Mr. Grimes.
At my trial, not one of all my friends came forward to speak a good word for me. No one but my wife, that is. She'd gotten well enough by then to be brought into the courtroom in a wheelchair. Poor Hannah sure spoke up for me. But the jury pitied her too much to show me mercy. Anyhow, they thought her words very queer, I guess, especially when she said,
He's a good man, Your Honor. It wasn't his fault, really. Not really. Sometimes something that's not ourselves. I mean, well, maybe it was my fault. I mean to say, after all, he was away, and I really shouldn't have answered that doorbell.
This is Don Dowd again, your host for Mystery Time. You have just heard Masters of Mystery, live from New York. Tonight's play, Death Walked In, was produced by Clark Andrews in association with Ronald Dawson and Robert Arthur. Featured in tonight's drama were Ann Loring, Bill Johnstone, Peggy Allenby, and Frank Butler.
Night. From the shadows of the senses comes this, the fantasy of fear. Nightmare, starring as your exciting guide to terror, Peter Lorre.
You know, I wonder what makes some people do the things they do. Like the charming young creature you see under the circus tent, balancing herself so gracefully on a tiny wire, high over the heads of the gaping spectators. Why does she want to do such a dangerous thing day after day? Well, no one knows. And yet people do dangerous things all the time without much thought about the risk of losing life. And then there are girls like this Judy who never lived dangerously. Her greatest earthly threat was a simple run in her hose. A fearful thing to happen, especially to a young efficient secretary like Judy. But life has a way of tripping us up. It tripped Judy, and she fell right into a living nightmare. Now, about this girl, Judy Branson. Oh, such a very nice, pretty young thing. She has an excellent position in an office, a secretary to a real tycoon. Oh, and she's so efficient and so level-headed. And nothing to worry her pretty little head, except one day she tripped and she fell. It was such a small thing. Nothing to be afraid about. Yet almost overnight, Judy... but you find out for yourself. I don't want you to fall for anything I might say.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen,
I can't look.
Sure you can.
your entertainment, we present an exciting young lady of the high wire, Miss Georgia Loring, who will attempt at a height of 100 feet in the air without a net, a double somersault and twist. Miss Georgia Loring!
Oh, cut it, honey. This trick isn't so dangerous as they make out. These people know what they're doing, been practicing for years. Anything they do without a net, they do well because it's easy and they're not taking chances.
How do you know so much?
I know, that's all. Watch. Good.
Felt better when I found out she wasn't hurt too badly.
Yeah, well, you know those people know what they're doing. Even when they fall right. Good thing the fall was broken by that tackle, though.
Must be an exciting life.
What, circus?
You know, when I was a little girl, I always thought someday I'd like to be a circus acrobat.
You?
Well, what's so funny, husband dear?
Judy, stop it. You a circus acrobat on a high wire?
Well, why not? If I had the practice, the ambition, and the drive.
Yeah, all that's needed. But, baby, there's only one thing that you'd lack.
Oh? What's that?
The talent, honey. The talent.
Talent? Joe, how dare you?
I don't mean it that way, honey, but look, kid, like I said before, those people have perfect balance. That's their talent. If they haven't got it, they don't last. Perfect balance, honey, that's the answer.
And I suppose you think I'm clumsy.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. But I wouldn't say you had perfect balance, Beauty.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't you say it?
Now, don't get insulted.
I'm not insulted. I just want to know why, that's all. What makes you think you know so much?
Well, look at it. Look at our game of tennis, for instance. Every time we play, you take a spill or two.
That has nothing to do with circus work.
But it's the same thing, honey. Don't you see that? It's all a matter of balance. And if you fall on the tennis court, it means your coordination is off.
That's not why I fall on the court.
Oh? Well, and why do you?
Because you get me nervous, that's why. Because you're always telling me how you'd like some competition, that I don't give you a good game.
Now, look, I don't make you fall.
You do, too.
Oh, baloney. You're the one that falls, not me.
You're telling me I'm clumsy again.
Oh, Judy, I didn't say that. I only said you don't have perfect balance, and that the circus people have it, or else they
Now, don't tell me what you were saying. I can hear you.
Easy, baby. There.
I didn't even see the curb.
Sure you saw it. And you see what I mean about balance?
Well, what are you laughing at? I could have broken my leg. I suppose that's funny.
No, baby, that wouldn't be funny. What are you so sensitive about? You're so touchy, just...
I'm sorry.
No, kid. You're well off working where you are as a stenographer in a nice, safe office.
Judy. Hi, Laura. You ready for lunch? About a minute. I have to finish this paragraph. Sure, I'll wait. Where do you want to go?
Well, I got about 70 cents day before payday blues. How about Hamburger Paradise?
Fine.
We'll have to walk down today, you know.
Hmm?
I said we'll have to walk down today. Aren't you just thrilled?
Walk down? What do you mean?
Elevator's out of service, repairing them or something.
Well, for heaven's sake, you mean we have to walk down 20 flights of stairs?
Oh, lovely, huh? What's the matter?
Nothing.
You look funny.
I'm all right. Well, you ready?
Sure, I guess I can't do anything else with this face. I was born with it. I suppose it'll have to do. Come on.
Just let me get my... Oh, careful!
Oh, Judy. Are you hurt?
No, I'm all right.
Are you sure? That was quite a fall.
I'm all right, Laura.
What in heaven's name made you do that?
I don't know. Maybe that pencil on the floor, I slipped on it, I guess.
Well, didn't you see it?
Yes?
Well, then why did... Oh, never mind. As long as you're not hurt. Come on, I'm hungry. Well, here we are. Well, come on, let's descend into the maelstrom. There's nothing we can do about it. Huh. Stairwell's dark, too. Guess they got the electric off while they fixed the elevator.
Laura, wait.
Huh?
Maybe we should... Well, have something sent up.
Are you kidding? I told you I only got 70 cents. Well, with a tip and all, it wouldn't be enough, and I'm real hungry today. Come on.
I could lend you some money.
Oh, come on. The fresh air will do us good.
Laura.
Judy, what's the matter with you?
Nothing, I'm all right. Let's go down.
Now, there's 6 steps to the flight. Now, can you feel your way? It's 6 steps down, you turn, and another 6 down, and you turn, and another 6 between each floor.
Laura, what floor are we on? Are we almost down?
Oh, no, we're only at 15 now, I think.
I can't see a thing.
There's a man ahead of us with a flashlight. Come on, let's catch up.
Wait, don't go so fast.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Judy, why are you so slow? Just hold on to the rail and feel your way. Now, come on, I'm hungry.
Laura, wait for me. Please, wait.
Laura, wait for me. Don't leave me here, Laura, please. Help me, Laura, please.
You see, now you can understand why Judy feels the way she does. Falling can be dangerous. Of course, one can't tumble down 20 flights of stairs. No, that's impossible. We might wish Judy many happy landings, huh? Still, Judy's afraid. One has to take so many steps every day. Steps that have trapped her in a living nightmare. Now, let's see, where were we? Oh, yes. Trying to keep from falling, huh? Oh, poor little Judy. Well, there must be some answer for her. See, I know a place where one doesn't have to worry about falling. She don't mind the damn feeling of cold marble. Oh, but each day fate tries to trip us with small things. Oh, pencil on the floor, or the runner on a stair, or just a tiny greasy spot. I wonder how Judy can escape, or for that matter, how many of us can.
We're frightened.
Well, it's about time you stopped being frightened. It's about time you grew up, Judy. Stopped acting like a scared kid. Stop falling all over the place, you hear?
Joe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, how about me? What about me and the laughing stock you're making of me falling on the dance floor, screaming in public, crying in front of all those people, letting yourself be frightened by a flight of stairs?
Joe, I couldn't help it. Believe me, I couldn't help it.
And then because of a little flight of stairs, because you get frightened on top of everything, you have to go and quit the job.
I get panicky, Joe.
Sure, you sure did. Quitting a good-paying job because you're afraid of a flight of stairs. It's no fun for me, you know. Gets to be my problem, too, always worrying about when and how you're going to embarrass me. Well, after all, I'm...
Embarrass you? Well, if you don't like this marriage, if you don't like me, if you want out anytime, you can. You can.
Oh, baby, don't say that.
You're making me a nervous wreck.
What about me? I'm the nervous wreck, and you're the cause of it. And maybe you're right, Judy. Maybe if all of this ridiculous nonsense about falling down doesn't stop soon, I will want out. Maybe I will.
Oh, Joe. Joe, only way.
Judy, for Pete's sake, that's no answer.
I know it'll work, Joe. I know it. Let's move, please.
But we're only on the 4th floor here.
It's too high, Joe. It's too high.
Judy.
Please, Joe, please.
All right. I'll see if I can break the lease. We'll move to the ground floor apartment.
Oh, honey, thanks.
But this is it, you hear? This is the last time, the last coddling routine, you hear?
Yes, Joe.
And I mean it. You know what I mean, Judy?
Oh, don't. Please don't.
We've been living here for 3 months. 3 whole months on the ground floor, and for a while it was fine.
Trying.
But for a month and a half now, you haven't moved out of that chair. You haven't been outside the house more than once a week for shopping. Why, Judy? Why?
Joe, please.
Why, Judy? Tell me why.
The steps. I'm afraid of the steps.
Steps? Judy, for heaven's sakes, there's only 3 steps out to the street. 3 stupid steps.
I'm afraid I'll fall, Joe. I'm afraid I'll fall.
Sweetheart.
Oh, darling, I can't wait to unwrap it.
Well, it's not so much, but you take a look at it.
Oh, darling, whatever it is, I'll love it because it's from you.
Say, I thought you were going to finish dressing the tree while I was at work.
I did, Joe.
But only the bottom part.
Joe.
I left the ladder for you. Why didn't... Oh, Judy.
Hello?
Well, what happened?
I'm sorry, Joe.
I've been waiting in this dive with Paul and Laura since 6:15. What's keeping you?
I'm not coming, Joe.
Not coming? Why not?
Joe, come home, please. I'm frightened.
What?
There's a pencil on the floor.
Huh?
Joe, I'm afraid I'll fall. Help me, Joe. Please. More tea, Laura?
No, thanks. I gotta watch this figure. Paul says I'm getting as wide as I am high. Man, you never can please him. Of course, I always thought your Joe was different, but I guess I was wrong. When did he leave?
2 days ago. Took a hotel room.
Well, if you ask me, it's because you quit your job. These men are all alike. They marry a girl to support her, and then they expect her to bring money into the house. Just like Paul. I tell you, Judy, they're all alike. There's not one that's any different.
No, it's my fault, Laura. It's my fault. It's not Joe. It's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judy. I'm sorry.
I'll be all right.
Sure. Everything will turn out okay. You just wait and see. You know, I think you ought to start working again. It'd do you good. Give you a feeling of independence. Then you wouldn't feel you need Joe as much as you do. And he'd come back. The minute he saw you going your own way, he'd come running back.
You think so, Laura?
Oh, I know so. Why don't you drop up to the office this week? I got a feeling old Carter would give you your job back. You know, we miss you around there, Judy.
Well, I'm certainly glad you came back, Judy.
Thanks, Mr. Carter. I'm sorry about quitting with such short notice. I hope
forget it, Judy. I don't hold any grudges. I understand you had a problem of some kind about those stairs. By the way, you You're over it now, aren't you?
Oh, yes, Mr. Carter. I'm over it.
Good. Now, you can have your old job back. Same one at the same salary. Is that okay?
Oh, yes. That's wonderful, Mr.
I'll
Carter.
just have the application drawn up again. Laura.
Yes, Mr. Carter. Hi, Judy. It's good to see you back. Hello, Laura.
Laura, will you type out an application for Judy, and I want an...
Yeah.
What's that?
I don't know. Fire! That's a fire alarm! The building is on fire. Look, there's smoke coming in from the hall.
Oh, well, that
The
means...
fire stairs are blown. Get out of here. How do we get out?
I don't know. I don't know.
Judy, you got to. I can't, Laura.
Judy, for heaven's sake, it's the only way to save...
No, I couldn't. I'd fall. I know I'd fall. Judy, look at me. Just look at me.
Laura.
Now, listen. There's only one way out. Through the window and over that ledge to the other side. Now, do you hear? You have to walk over that ledge. Oh, no, I can't. With 20 floors up, it's so narrow. The ledge is so narrow, I'd fall. I'd fall, Laura.
You want to be burned to death, is that it? Judy, you can't stay here. You have to walk out that ledge.
No.
Well, I'm going. I'm getting out. Judy, come on.
No, I won't.
Judy, do you know what you're doing? Yes, you have fallen into fear. You cannot win like this. All life has its high and low places. You're not going to give up so easily, are you? Come on, go on. Take a step and then another one and then another. Poor girlie Judy. She'll never stop falling until she realizes that she's trapped in a living nightmare. Tell me, do you like to climb to high places, a mountaintop, or perhaps you enjoy going to the uppermost story of some great skyscraper, and once there, stretched out below you is the great city in all its magnificence. You lean far out to get a better view, and suddenly, only for a split second, your balance seems gone, but only for a second, and then you catch yourself. After all, you were holding on to a strong iron railing, huh? You weren't afraid. Now, I just wonder about Judy. She has a problem, one that has been left hanging in midair. Shall we see?
Judy, don't look down and behind you. Don't look so far down at those little people, the little cars and fire engines. Don't look down, Judy, or you'll fall. Now just keep going. 1, 2, 3. Careful now. Careful, don't fall, Judy. No, don't fall. Don't fall. That's it, Judy. Closer.
You got it now, girls. Just a few more steps. Come on, easy now. Easy.
I'm all right. I'm coming. Good girl, Judy. That's it. Now you're here. Laura. Come on, Judy. Wait. What? I forgot my purse. Yeah, but you forgot your purse where? In the office.
But you can't go back across that ledge. You can't go back to get it.
Why not? Judy, you're out of your mind. No, what's the problem? But where did you... Well, easy, Laura. It's so simple to walk across. You wait here. I'll be right back.
Let me through, please. Let me through. Will you please out of the way? Oh, Judy.
Darling.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, Joe.
You're not hurt?
No.
But you must be frightened.
Frightened? Of what?
That ledge. They told me you had to walk across that ledge up there.
Uh-huh. Twice, as a matter of fact.
Twice?
Yeah. Why? What's so surprising, darling? It was easy, really. It was easy, darling.
Judy, what's come over you?
Come over me? I don't know exactly, but I feel different somehow. I feel different. you. Oh, I'm so tired. Joe, what's the matter?
Judy, it's got to stop. It's just got to stop, that's all.
What are you talking about, darling?
You know what I'm talking about? There's this ridiculous career of yours, this actor, this circus. Judy, I'm a nervous wreck.
But, darling, the new contract is ready for signing, and they're upping my salary 200%. We can't sneeze at that, Joe.
Judy, don't you understand? It's not the money. I don't give a hang about the money. Every time I see her climb that ladder, everything turns inside of me, and I tremble. I got to close my eyes.
But, darling, you can't ask me to give up a career that I've spent so much time practicing and perfecting, and I have perfect balance, so why worry?
Judy, this whole thing is ridiculous. Why aren't you afraid? Why don't you get some sense in your head?
You silly. Come here. Just routine, that's all. Just simple routine. Now stop worrying that little head of yours. There's nothing to be afraid of.
And so we leave little Judy in the air. She lost her fears away up there. In her mind, fear makes its lair, causing grief and so much care. Judy knows that fear's absurd, something really for the bird. So she put all fear into full flight. She's the girl on that tightrope every night. Oh, I do hope you'll sleep tonight. I know I will. Dreaming about a pretty young thing, all spangles and glitter, slowly making her way across a tiny silver wire, hundreds of feet in the air, and never thinking of falling. Yes. Say, by the way, what makes you afraid?
Out of the dark of night, from the shadows of the senses, comes this, the fantasy of fear. Nightmare, starring as your exciting guide to terror, Peter Lorre.
Oh, you don't believe in ghosts? Careful now. Don't be so sure of yourself because I know the story of a woman who didn't believe in ghosts either. And she made a business of it. Until one day, terror struck from behind the dark veil.
You are listening to Peter Lorre tell you of The Chance of a Ghost.
Now, about this woman, Sonia Gale. Sonia was a medium. She made her living out of death. You know what a medium is. They hold seances, they lift tables and chairs. They make weird voices come out of nowhere. They say they are in touch with the dead. You don't believe it? Oh, you don't believe in ghosts, huh? Well, neither do I, most of the time. And neither did Sonia, at first.
Stephen, can you hear me, Stephen? Stephen, where is it? Stephen, tell me.
Oh, come on, Myra, let's get out of here.
Ben, please.
I say this is ridiculous. Come on, let's go.
Oh, yes, little one,
Stay seated, Mr. Jones. Don't move. She's contacted her control.
Baloney.
Ben, please don't move. Keep your hands on the table, Ben, or you'll break the trance. Can't you see she's in the trance?
She's been in a trance all her life.
Benny, please.
Every time we come here, she goes into one of those phony trances. And we still haven't seen her spoken to Stephen.
Quiet, Mr. Jones. You'll destroy the seance.
You asked me. We're in a trance for coming here, paying good money for this foolishness.
Little one, she hears.
I didn't hear a thing myself.
Stephen, we want to talk to Stephen Jones. Ask him where the money is.
Be quiet, please, Mrs. Jones. One thing at a time. She has to talk to the control first.
The money, Stephen. Tell me where it is. Little one, ask him where the money is. The money.
Nuts.
There.
Jones, you destroyed it. I'm going home. Get the lights on, Charlie. Yeah.
What happened?
He broke the spell.
You shouldn't have moved then. You shouldn't have taken your hand off the table.
Oh, baloney. Come on, Myra. Let's go.
Mr. Jones, I don't know why you come here if you don't intend to cooperate.
My wife wants to come, that's why.
But I must speak to Stephen.
We'll let you know, Mrs. Jones. We'll let you know if Madam Gale will let you have another appointment now. We'll call you.
Oh, all right. Come, Ben.
I've been ready for an hour and a half.
It's all your fault.
My fault.
You hadn't been so impatient. Taking your hand off the table.
Oh, Myra.
They gone?
Yeah. They're gone.
Boy, I need a drink. Will you, Charlie?
Sure. Hey, you, Lionel? I'm always ready for a drink after one of these sessions.
Oh, Lionel, now don't start up again.
I haven't said a word.
I can see it coming.
Bottoms up?
Thanks, Charlie.
Luck, Lionel? Something I can always use.
Oh, well, how'd I do?
Ah, you were wonderful, Sonia, as usual.
I haven't lost my acting ability.
I only wish you'd put it where it belongs, on the stage.
Oh, Lionel, I thought you said you were going to be nice.
Never said any such thing.
Well, I'm tired. I can't stand another argument.
As usual. Charlie? Huh? Charlie, I'm ashamed. Both for myself and Sonia. Now, look, old boy, there's no need to... No, I really am. And I just had to say it.
Oh, shut up.
One of these days I will. Hey, I seem to be in the way around here, and anyway, I've got a dinner engagement.
Don't be silly, Charlie. Fix us another drink. Another chop, Charlie.
Huh? Oh, no, thanks. So you're going to give them another apartment?
Well, why not?
Sonia, those people aren't made of money, you know.
They've got more than we've got. Rob the rich to feed the poor, that's what I say. Pass the string beans, Charlie. String beans.
Oh, Sonia, where's your conscience?
Oh, Lionel, stop.
Sonia, I
don't have any conscience.
You used to have one. When we were married, you had a...
When we were married, you had a job.
Well, because I haven't had a stroke of bad luck doesn't mean that you have to indulge in a dishonest, unscrupulous racket.
Stroke of bad luck. 5 years now. Some stroke. Now what's the matter?
Sonia, I'm not going to play the part of your stooge any longer.
Now, just a minute.
You can get somebody else to help you with your hypocrisy. You can get another assistant to rig the wires that make the hands float and the table rise. I'm getting out.
Oh, you're going to look for a job?
I didn't say that.
Of course you didn't.
I'm going out for a walk. I'll see you, Charlie. Oh, yeah.
I've got a cigarette, Charlie.
Sure.
Thanks. Well, I guess this evening hasn't been exactly enjoyable for you.
Look, Sonia, maybe I should mind my own business, but...
But what? Go ahead, say it.
Well, every time I come over here lately, you two are up and at it, always about the same thing, this seance business of yours.
So?
Well, suppose you did give it up. Suppose you...
Don't be silly.
But it might make things better, Sonia, for you and Lionel.
Never in a million years. Come on, Charlie, out with it. It's not just your interest in Lionel's and my welfare. You're against it, too.
Well, not exactly.
Look, my brother was a spiritualist.
There's a difference, Sonia. Martin was admired when he was alive because he was sincere. He believed in what he was doing.
And I don't.
Admittedly.
All right, so I'm in it for the money. That's the difference. And a good, sound, sensible difference it is, too. If other people believe in ghosts, why shouldn't I take advantage of it? Why shouldn't I? Stephen, is that Stephen I hear a little while? She hears him.
Careful now. This is a dangerous moment. Don't move.
Ask him where it is. Ask him where the money is. Stephen Jones. Look, Ben. A hand floating in space. Stephen Jones, your sister wants to know. Where the money is. Where's the money, Stephen? Where did you hide the money?
Under the third floorboard.
Get the lights, Mr. Jones. Sonia, you all right?
Oh, what happened? Come on, Ben. Let's get out of here. The attic, he said, under the third floorboard.
What are you so quiet about, staring into space like that?
I'm all right.
Sonia, what's the matter?
Lionel, it wasn't me.
What? What wasn't you?
That voice, it wasn't me, Lionel. I didn't fake Stephen's voice.
Oh, Sonia, come off it. Now, don't tell me it was a ghost.
But it wasn't me.
Phone.
Hello? Oh, yes. Oh, I see. Yes, I will, yes. The bill? Yes, I'll send it. Yes. Goodbye.
Well, who was that?
Mrs. Jones. She said they found the money under the 3rd floorboard in the attic. Oh, Lionel.
Of course not, Sonia. You know better than that. You who have made a business of this sacred for so many years. You who know all the tricks. There's no such thing as a real ghost, is there? Is there, Sonia? Sonia doesn't seem to be so sure anymore. Because she's trapped in a living nightmare. Real ghost. Is that what I said before? Well, can there be such a thing as a real ghost? Of course not. Because ghosts are not real, are they? You can put your hand right through them. That is, if you have the nerve. If fear doesn't freeze every muscle in your body and even stifle the terrified scream that begs exit from your throat. Well, but now let's get back to Sonia. Poor soul. She's been living with ghosts so long, she's beginning to act like one. She's withdrawing from reality.
I tell you, you've got to give it up.
I won't. Now stop harping at me.
Harping at you? You ought to be glad I'm harping at you. It shows I'm interested in your welfare, right, Charlie? Now, look, don't drag me into this.
Leave him alone, Lionel, and leave me alone.
You've been at this so long, you're beginning to believe in your own fakery.
That's not true.
Now, wait a minute, Sonia. You said only...
I didn't say I believed in my own fakery.
All right, argue over exact words if you want to, but when you told us about that
I
boy...
only said I didn't fake it.
Which means that you believe it came out of the air.
Well, what else am I to think?
There, you see? You do believe it was a ghost.
I didn't say that.
Then what are you saying?
I'm saying I can't find any answer, that's what. I'm saying that so far there isn't any explanation. I'm saying I gotta find out.
Find out what, Sonia?
Oh, I don't know, Charlie. I don't know anymore.
Well, that's why I want you to give this up, Sonia. Because you're so confused. Because it's not good for your mind. This kind of way.
Oh, leave me alone.
Sonia, I'm warning you.
Well, stop warning me.
That if you don't give up this ridiculous
How
business...
can I give it up now?
What?
I said, how can I give it up now when there's no explanation? I know there aren't anything like ghosts. I've known that all my life, and I still know it. But this is something different, don't you see? I didn't fake that voice. I know I didn't, and I've got to find out how it happened.
All of which means, in other words, that you're not so sure anymore, Sonia. That you do believe it was a ghost.
Oh, don't be silly.
All right, then you're going on. You're going to continue the seances.
Yes, I have to. Stephen Jones, little one, can you let us speak with Stephen Jones? Ask him where the rest of the money is. Your sister wants to know. Stephen, there's the rest of the money.
Come on, Steve, old boy. Come on, boy.
Stephen, we found part of it, but there was more. There was more, Stephen.
Come on, Steve. Don't be an old skinflint. Where's the rest of the dough? You can't use it where you are, Jones, please.
Hurry up. Stephen. Stephen, it's me, Myra. No. Please.
I'll get them.
Oh, goodness. I can't. What happened?
Nick, Sonia, what happened, my dear?
It just won't work. I guess something's wrong today. I don't know. I couldn't hold the little one.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, but Madam had some trouble during the trance. We'll have to make it another time.
But the rest of the money?
Steve must know where it is. I'm afraid we can't continue today. Perhaps next week. Oh, all right. Come on, Ben.
Oh, just when it was getting good.
You all right?
Sure, I'm fine. You got a cigarette?
Uh-huh.
Thanks. Well, I guess I was wrong.
About what?
That last seance. I didn't hear a thing today. No voices, thank goodness.
When did he leave?
Yesterday.
Aren't you worried?
Don't be silly. He'll be back. He always comes back. If he doesn't come back, you'll have to find a job, and you can bet your bottom dollar he won't do that.
Look, Sonia, why don't you meet him halfway?
Oh?
Give up this medium business. If you do that, maybe Lionel will go out and get a
Why
job.
should I give it up? It brings in money. Lots of money. Plenty of suckers around who believe in ghosts. If people are going to spend money anyway, why shouldn't I collect it?
A certain amount of truth in that. But, Sonia, speaking of people who believe in ghosts, you did just the other day.
Who, me?
That voice.
My imagination, a trick of the mind.
But you weren't so sure the other day.
Well, I am now. Nothing happened in yesterday's seance.
True, but you still haven't found that explanation you were looking for that voice.
I don't need it. I tell you, it was my imagination. I thought I didn't fake that voice, but I must have. Simple.
You weren't so sure about it the other day.
You keep saying that.
You weren't sure, Sonia.
But I am now.
Are you, Sonia?
Of course. What makes you think I'm not? Keep your hand on the table, Ben. Stop fidgeting.
I'm not fidgeting. The table's moving.
Yes, little one, I hear you. Yes, I hear you, little one. She stopped, little one.
Be quiet.
Ben, look.
Huh?
Look, Ben, a light.
A shape in the light.
You can see right through it. It's a ghost.
It's Steve. It must be Steve.
Stephen!
Where's the dough, Steve, old boy? Where's the rest of the dough?
Look, it's coming closer. Is that you, Stephen? Is that you?
Sonia, you're frightened. Don't be frightened. It's only a ghost, and ghosts can't hurt you. They're only made of nothing. Poor Sonia. She's been selling nightmares for so long, and now her own life has changed into one. Yes, Sonia's trapped in a living nightmare. Now, let's see, where were we? Oh, yes. Poor Sonia is seeing things, and things she didn't make with paper mache and string. Things she cannot explain. Oh, but Sonia, there must be some explanation. There's an explanation for everything. All you have to do is look for it. Hey, what are these things you're seeing and hearing, Sonia? Why, figments of your imagination, of course. Just a bunch of figments. But you know, if that's true, I think Sonia is worse off. Her mind is going. What's worse? A bunch of figments or a true ghost? Well, me, I'd rather face the ghost any day, wouldn't you?
How is she?
Resting.
Right if I talk to her?
I guess so.
Sonia? It's me.
It's Charlie, Sonia.
Oh, Charlie.
I'll see you later, Charlie.
Yeah, sure. Feel like talking?
Sure, Charlie. Sit down.
I hear you had a bad shock.
Charlie, I'm frightened.
Nah, Sonia.
I'm so frightened, Charlie.
Sonia, I want to...
Martin came back.
Oh, now, Sonia.
Yes, it was Martin. After 10 years, he came back from the dead.
Now, hold on.
I'm so frightened, Charlie. What'll I do? What can I do?
But this is nonsense, Sonia. You know it, I know it. There's no such thing as ghosts.
But I saw him, Charlie. I saw him and I heard him.
Now, listen, Sonia.
He had a message for me.
It was just in your head, your imagination.
A message? But what message, Charlie? Oh, I'm so frightened, and I asked it so badly. I screamed. I screamed and swore at him. He'll be mad, Charlie. He'll be mad, and then...
Now, stop it, Sonia. You know it wasn't Martin. Dead people can't come back. It was your imagination.
No, because Mrs. Jones saw and heard him, too. And Ben Jones, he was there, and he saw Martin and heard him.
Sonia...
It was Martin, Charlie. My dead brother Martin, dead for 10 years, and he came back.
Now, why in the world...
I don't know. I don't know why he did. But he wanted to tell me something. What, Charlie? Oh, I'm so frightened. I'm so frightened, Charlie.
Sonia, you got to pull yourself out of this.
He's mad, Charlie. He's mad with me for behaving the way I did, for screaming at him. That's why I'm frightened, because Martin was always so spiteful, because I...
Sonia.
He'll kill me.
Sonia, stop it. Now, stop it, Sonia. There wasn't any ghost.
But I saw him. I saw Martin.
Impossible.
No. No, you're wrong, Charlie. Not impossible. You're wrong. It was a ghost. It was Martin. And he's come back. He's come back to tell me something and to haunt me.
Susan, I told her that... Quiet, here she comes.
What's the matter, Sonia, dear?
Nothing.
You've been walking around the house for days, just as though you were in a trance. What is it?
I'm all right, Lionel. I'm all right now. I know what I have to do now.
Know what you have to do? What do you mean?
I know what my work is now.
Huh? What work, Sonia?
You see, I've thought it through. I've figured it out.
Figured what
About
out?
Martin.
Oh, now, Sonia, I told you it was a hallucination.
No, you're wrong, Lionel. I know it was Martin, and now I know why he came back. Now I know what he wanted to tell me.
What, Sonia?
Martin wants me to continue his work. The work he left 10 years ago when he died.
What?
Yes. You see, he's been watching me. He's been watching me make a fool of myself, holding seances and not believing in them. So he came back. He came back to admonish me, to teach me a lesson, and to ask me to give my heart to it now and to carry on his work.
What? Sonia, this is ridiculous.
No, at last I know the truth. Now I can really begin.
Goodness, Charlie, what are we going to do?
Now, take it easy, Lionel.
Yes, now I can go on without being frightened.
Now, wait a minute, Sonia.
Yes, Martin came back to tell me...
Now, wait a minute,
and...
please. Martin didn't come back. I know he didn't come back, and so does Charlie here. Now, listen to me, Sonia. Charlie and I have something to tell you.
Tell me?
Now, you're not going to like this, Sonia, but it's the only way. I just have to do it. Now, listen carefully to me. Sonia, Charlie and I faked Martin's ghost.
No.
Yes, we faked Martin's ghost. His voice, too, with a recording tape. And that other voice, Stephen, we faked that, too.
No.
We did it, Sonia. We did it because we thought it was the only way to pull you out of this nonsensical...
No.
We were trying to frighten you, dear. We were trying to frighten you so that you'd give it up. We faked the ghost and the voices without your knowledge.
No, that's
but
not
I tell
true.
you, it is true. It is. Isn't it, Charlie? Isn't it true?
Yeah, it's true, Sonia. Lionel's right. We did fake those.
No, you're just trying to trick me.
But, Sonia...
You're trying to make me believe that Martin didn't come back.
But he didn't. It was Charlie. Charlie faked his voice.
I know. I just won't believe it. Now, I won't because I know that Martin came back. I know what I have to do now.
Sonia!
I must carry on his work. I know that now. And nothing can stop me. I must put my heart into it, and I must give my life to the realm of the spirit and help others to speak to their loved ones. And I must contemplate and work. I must.
Oh, no.
Want a drink?
Make it a double. Oh, everything turned out wrong. Backwards.
Well...
This was all your idea, Charlie. Now look what happened. Now look what you've done.
Look what I've done. Now, hold on. You went along with it. You thought it'd scare her out of that stuff.
All right. But it was your idea.
Only one thing I can't understand.
What?
When I faked the voice of Stephen Jones, that was all nonsense I said about the money being under the third floorboard in the attic. But then they found it there. How come?
I need another drink.
So do I.
So, in the dark of night, if you see a light, don't be scared and don't you faint. Just remember, in your fright, there's nothing there. Because ghosts ain't.
The Reverend Arthur Maydew worked very hard in a large parish for 11 months of the year. He was also a student and a man of no strong physique, so that when an opportunity was presented to him to take a holiday by exchanging his parsonage in a sprawling, dark, industrial town with the country living of another clergyman in the sunlit south, he was very glad to avail himself of it. Arthur Maydew had 2 daughters, the heroines of this story set in an English county shortly after the First World War. Both these girls rejoiced at the prospect of a period of quiet and rest in the pleasant country neighborhood of Overbury. But their dreams were shattered.
From the gentle green acres, the Maydew sisters passed into the dark regions of terror that lie beyond midnight.
Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder, presents Beyond Midnight.
Quite lovely. Oh, Maggie, we shall persuade old Mr. Roberts to exchange Overbury for Father's parish permanently.
Oh, as if he would. This lovely place, these surroundings for Sheffield. Oh, Alice, who in all the world would make such a bargain?
Look! That was a song thrush. Did you see him?
No. With eyes like yours, I'm surprised you did.
Well, I will not wear spectacles. And if it contents me to say I saw a song thrush, then a song thrush I saw. Oh. Do you think Father is contented here, Maggie?
Of course. He has Mr. Roberts' library. What could content him more? Books, books, and more books. 100,000 books.
Oh, how green it is up here. That's Bricket Bottom down there. The Glen. How long do you think it is?
1 mile. Oh, 3/4, perhaps. You must ask Smith. He knows all the county's history.
Oh, I would not dream of asking Smith anything. He's quite stupid. Look, you see, that's the road which leads to Blazes Farm. Oh, I wish there were a few friendly neighbours, that's all. Then it would be paradise here. That's the only trouble. Once we've fully explored, what shall we do then? On this side of Bricket Bottom, there's nothing but Carew Court. And that's miles and miles and miles away.
I wonder what he's like.
Who?
The owner, Lord Carew, of course. They say he's one of the wealthiest men in England.
I've heard tell that he doesn't have a handsome 25-year-old son, Maggie. Only a rather plain daughter.
I was thinking nothing of the sort. I merely wondered what he was like. It is bleak, though, isn't it? All about here. Beautiful, yes, but bleak. Oh, come on. It's getting dark. We must...
Tomorrow we'll explore right to Blazes Farm. Who knows? We may be treated to fresh, warm, creamy milk.
Alice, look. Look. How very curious. There's a house down there in the bottom, which we have never... leastways, I have never noticed before.
House? Where?
Do you see? We've walked along the path down there, but I... Oh, no. There, girl, there. You see?
I don't see any house.
Oh, you must be able to see it. A quaint-looking old-fashioned house. Red brick. Oh, just where the road bends to the right. See the garden?
No. I certainly can't see a house.
Oh, Alice, I am very sorry, but if you don't persuade Father to buy spectacles for you soon, you'll be incapable of seeing anything.
Yes, perhaps I can see a house, but the light is getting so bad. Oh, Maggie, we really must fly.
All right, but tomorrow we shall come and explore it. Perhaps we shall meet some charming people, make new friends.
Wait for me.
Perhaps we may persuade Father to desert his books and come with us too. We must meet the people in the house, though. Otherwise, Father will be too shy.
We can't go tomorrow, Maggie.
Heaven's name, Alice.
Oh, my ankle. Oh, Maggie, help me.
Well, why did you come down the stairs like an elephant? It's your own fault.
Oh, you told me to hurry.
Here, don't stand. Sit down, rest it. Well, I wanted to go to the house. Father's forgotten all about visiting Overbury. We can go this morning.
Oh, it's swelling. Oh, look. Oh, Maggie, it's so painful.
Oh.
My shan't leave the house this morning, that's evident. If you wish to explore, you must go alone.
Yes, Maggie.
Yes, Father. If we don't go now, we'll never get away. He's sure to want to go to Overbury.
It's no good. I cannot stand. Oh, go alone and tell me about it when you come back. If there is a house in Bricket Bottom. I swear I saw nothing.
I shall see you soon. If they are pleasant people and we are invited to tea and your ankle still pains you tomorrow, we shall take the trap over.
Maggie, you are so forward.
Maggie, are you there?
Now, don't try to walk. Preserve your ankle at all costs. I shall not be late. Tell Father I am just walking. He will be cross if he thinks I have gone to the house without me. Very old-fashioned, but oh, absolutely charming. Oh, and Alice, you should just see the garden. Oh, there are hollyhocks and roses and Canterbury bells and foxgloves. It is absolutely lovely. A darling little house. It's set close to the woods, just where the lane turns off to Blazer's farm. Oh, and Alice, I saw the people too. An old lady and gentleman. The gentleman was sitting on the porch. I couldn't see him clearly, but the lady was in the garden tying up her flowers or weeding or something or the other. Oh, she looked up and smiled as I went by. Oh, Alice, I'm sure they are nice people. It would be awfully pleasant to make their acquaintance. And we shall, too. I shall make their acquaintance if it is the last thing I do.
Hello.
Hello. You're walking. The ankle is fully healed.
I hobble. What's the matter?
Matter?
Yes, you don't look yourself this morning. Father was not angry yesterday, was he? I'm sure he was not awfully keen on going into Overbury.
No, not angry. No, I'm all right. Only I did not sleep very well. I kept on dreaming about the house. It was such an odd dream, too. The house seemed to be home and yet to be different.
What? That house in Bricket Bottom? What on earth is the matter with you? You seem perfectly obsessed with the place.
Well, it is curious, isn't it? I mean that we should only just have discovered it, and it looks to be lived in by nice people. I do wish we could get to know them. There's going to be a storm.
Oh, the swelling just will not go down.
Alice, I went to the house.
House? Oh, the house in Bricket Bottom. Well?
I saw the old lady, and she is absolutely a darling. I believe she simply lives in that garden. Mind you, it's absolutely enchanting. Oh, anyway, she came to her gate and talked with me, and she asked me in to look at her flowers. She's terribly keen on flowers. Anyway, the thing is, I was a little shy, I suppose, and she said, "You needn't be afraid of me, my dear. I like to see young ladies about me, and my husband finds their society quite necessary to him." Oh, she's awfully attractive, lovely silver hair. Anyway, she told me about herself and the Colonel. Oh, that's her husband. He used to be in India, in the army. Paxton's their name. Colonel and Mrs. Paxton. She said they were awfully lonely at times, and she asked me to meet the Colonel.
I hope you didn't go in.
Why not?
Well, I don't like her asking you in that way.
Well, I didn't actually go in because it was getting late, but...
But what?
I have accepted Mrs. Paxton's invitation to pay her a little visit tomorrow.
Well, I do think you ought to find out a little more about them before you go calling, Maggie.
Why? Oh, what on earth is the matter? They're lovely people.
How do you know?
Well, I'll tell you when I come home. Oh, you would have to go and hurt your ankle. Look, I'll go this afternoon just for a short visit. I'll be back for tea, and then we can have some croquet. You know how happy Father is when he plays croquet. Oh, Alice, don't look so disapproving. Maybe the Colonel and his lady have a handsome son. After all, you're getting awfully old, Alice. 20.
Where is Maggie?
Father?
Where is Maggie?
Out for a walk. And she's gone to pay a call on some neighbours whom she has recently discovered.
Neighbours? What neighbours? Mr. Roberts never spoke of any neighbours to me.
Well, I don't know much about them. Maggie and I were out walking the other day before I hurt my ankle, and we saw, at least she saw, a house in Bricket Bottom. Honestly, Father, I am so blind I
What
can't...
house?
It belongs to Colonel and Mrs. Paxton, in Bricket Bottom, a little red brick house. Maggie has made the acquaintance of the Paxtons. It's perfectly all right. He's a retired Indian Army officer. Maggie went along this afternoon, but she said she'd be back long before this.
I am not too well pleased about this, Alice. Maggie should not be so impulsive and scrape acquaintance with unknown people. She said she'd be home early.
Well, yes.
Had there been nice neighbours at Bricket Bottom, I'm sure Mr. Roberts would have told us. It's getting late. It can have delayed her. You say she saw the house. You didn't.
It was getting dark. And you know how short-sighted I am.
But surely you must have seen it at some other time.
That is the strangest part of the whole affair, Father. We have often walked along there, but neither of us have ever seen the house till that evening. And as I said, it was getting dark. Father, perhaps we should ask Smith to harness the pony and bring Maggie back. I am not happy about her. I'm rather afraid, I must confess. I don't know why.
Afraid of what? What can have gone wrong in a quiet place like this? Still, I'll send Smith over for her. Yes. Smith? If you feel you can manage with that ankle of yours, perhaps you'll come too. Poor dear departed mother always swore she would have preferred sons. Less trouble. Not that she wasn't terribly fond of her two daughters, of course, bless her soul, but... Smith, I want you to harness a pony at once and go over to Colonel Paxton's house in Bricket Bottom and bring Miss Maydew home. Well, what are you waiting for, man?
Go where, sir?
To Colonel Paxton's house. Bring Miss Maggie home.
I never heard of Colonel Paxton, sir. I don't know what house you mean.
Alice, tell this fellow where your sister has gone to, and let us be off to fetch her. The Paxton's house, man, in Bricket Bottom. Colonel Paxton.
Smith, you must know the house. You really must. Why, we saw it only the other day. At least, Maggie saw it.
Not too heavily on that ankle now, girl. Harness the pony at once.
Yes, sir.
Stupid man. Alice, is your ankle strong enough?
Yes, Father.
Then you must show Smith where this house is. I must own I'm worried, Alice.
But why, Father? Maggie merely went to pay a visit to the Colonel and his wife.
And why have I not heard of the Colonel? Roberts would have informed me if there had been pleasant neighbours hereabouts. Be that as it may. Come, let me help you. I shall find it difficult not to be stern with your sister when we meet her again. The place depresses me, Alice, that I must own. It depresses me. The country all around is beautiful, but I am not fond of this part. Well, where is the house?
At the bend of the road. It should be there.
Coming dark. Yet you remember no house, Smith. How long have you worked hereabouts?
Nigh on 25 years, sir.
I shall be fierce with her, I promise you.
Here we are. Smith, it's here. Just...
This is the place?
Yes, Father.
But there's no house here.
Sir?
Huh?
Look, sir.
What?
building. Here, and here, in the grass.
There was a dwelling here at one time, a long time ago. There were terraces here running... what does it all mean, Alice? Are you sure of yourself, girl? You're not mistaken? Perhaps further...
No, Father. I promise. It stood here, the house. Maggie pointed it out to me from up above.
And she went to visit the Paxtons. Well, then where is Maggie? Listen. Smith,
Maggie, where are you?
That was Maggie's voice.
Father!
She's near and in some trouble. Where did it come from, Smith?
I didn't hear anybody calling, sir.
Alice, go back to the trap. Let me help you. Smith, we must search.
Miss Maggie? Miss Maggie? Where are you?
Maggie, we heard you. Call again. Where are you? Alice, drive on to Blaze's farm, bring help, ask Mr. Rumbold to come and his sons too if they're at home, and ask them to fetch lanterns.
Father, she might have returned over the downs while we were going by road. Perhaps she saw us and called out...
Drive to Blaze's farm, girl. Maggie! 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 Maggie, where are you?
May I offer you more tea, Mr. Roberts?
No, thank you, my child. No, thank you. Nothing. 4 days. Nothing. What can have happened to her, Roberts? The police have questioned the old woman. She saw her on the path to Bricket Bottom, but no one else has seen her since.
The old woman said... What was it, Father?
She described Maggie as smiling, but looking queer-like. The house. There is no house. And yet...
Have you ever heard any local gossip concerning this Colonel and Mrs. Paxton?
No. I never heard mention of their names until...
I think the pot needs more hot water, Father.
Well, I'll tell you all I can about them, which is not very much, I fear. I am now nearly 75 years old, and for nearly 70 years no house has stood in Bricket Bottom. But when I was a very young child, there was an old-fashioned red brick house standing in a garden at the bend of the road, such as you have described. It was owned and lived in by a retired Indian soldier and his wife, a Colonel and Mrs. Paxton. At the time I speak of, certain events having taken place at the house, and the old couple having died, it was sold by their heirs to Lord Carew, who shortly after pulled it down on the ground that it interfered with his shooting. The Paxtons were well known to my father, who was the clergyman here before me, and to the neighborhood in general. They lived quietly and were not unpopular, but the colonel was supposed to possess a violent and vindictive temper. Their family consisted only of themselves and their daughter, the colonel's old army servant and his Eurasian wife. Well, I cannot tell you the details of what happened. I was only a child. My father never liked gossip, and in later years, when he talked to me on the subject, he always avoided any appearance of exaggeration or sensationalism. However, it is known that Miss Paxton fell in love and became engaged to a young man to whom her parents took a strong dislike. They used every possible means to break off the match, and many rumors were set on foot as to their conduct. Undue influence, even cruelty were charged against them. I do not know the truth. All I can say is that Miss Paxton died, and a very bitter feeling against her parents sprang up.
Yes, but Roberts, I pray you, what...
Please let me continue. I know how shocked you are. This story, well, it may shed some light. My father never saw Paxton after his daughter's death, and only saw Mrs. Paxton once or twice. He described her as an utterly broken woman, and no one seemed at all surprised when she followed her daughter to the grave within 3 months. Paxton himself became a recluse. He was rarely if ever seen, and himself died in a very short time. Some said by his own hand. He was buried like his wife and daughter in the churchyard of my church. The property passed to a distant relative, who came down to it for one night soon afterwards. He never came again. It said he conceived a violent dislike to the place. He sold it to Lord Carew, who later pulled it down, and the garden was left to relapse into a wilderness. Those are the facts.
But there is something more. I can see it in your face.
You have a right to know. What I'm going to tell you now is rumor, vague and uncertain. About 5 years after the house had been pulled down, a young maid-servant at Carew Court was out walking one afternoon. She was a newcomer to the district. On returning home to tea, she told her fellow servants that as she walked down Bricket Bottom, which place she described clearly, she passed a red brick house at the bend of the road, and that a kind-faced old lady had asked her to step in for a while.
I saw the old lady, and she is absolutely a darling. She came to her gate and talked with me and asked me in to look at her flowers. She's awfully attractive. Lovely silver hair.
Did this girl go in?
No. She feared that she might be late back at the hall for tea. She never visited the bottom again. But 2 or 3 years after that, after my father's death, a travelling tinker and his wife and daughter camped for a night at the foot of the bottom. The girls strolled away up the glen to gather blackberries, and she was never seen nor heard of again. Of course, one does not know the truth, and she may have run away voluntarily from her parents, although there was no known cause for her doing that. That is all I can tell you of either facts or rumors. All that I can do now is to pray for you and for her.
Beyond Midnight is presented every Friday night at 9:30 by Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder. The program is adapted for broadcasting and produced by Michael McCabe.
This is the House of Mystery. Good evening. This is Roger Elliott, otherwise known as the Mystery Man, welcoming you to another storytelling session here at the House of mystery. Today, we continue with the reading of Edward Bulwer Lytton's famous ghost story, The Haunters and the Haunted. As Ruth told us yesterday, Mr. Bulwer Lytton was not only a writer of ghost stories, but the author of The Last Days of Pompeii and a distinguished member of the British Parliament.
Why did he write The Haunters and the Haunted?
Why, Johnny?
Uh-huh.
Well, I should say for the same reason that I spend a good deal of time investigating rumors of supernatural manifestations to prove, if possible, that ghosts and phantoms exist only in the imagination.
Does he prove it in the story?
Well, let's find out, shall we?
Yeah.
Down with the lights, Johnny. That's fine. As you know, this story is about a haunted house in the very heart of the city of London. A house no human being would occupy because of the weird and frightening creatures who were said to inhabit it. However, the man who tells the story decided to investigate the house. He and his secretary, Frank Carter, moved in. The first thing they noticed were mysterious footprints on the damp stones of the yard at the rear of the house. Footprints that formed before their very eyes. Then, inside the house, they saw a mysterious light fashioned in human shape. A light that ran up the stairway to the attic and disappeared. They decided to retire for the night and search the house in the morning. But no sooner was the man who tells the story in bed when a cold wind passed over his face, and an invisible hand reached out and took his watch from the table beside the bed. Now, that's where I stopped yesterday. Now I'll continue from page 271, chapter 3 of The Haunters and the Haunted. I sprang out of bed, seizing my revolver in one hand and my dagger in the other. I was going to make sure that fiendishly invisible hand didn't get them, too. Then I started to search the floor for the watch. It was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, I heard 3 loud, distinct knocks at the head of my bed. Frank heard them, too, and called out from his room. I warned him to be on guard. All my courage was disappearing fast. Now, my bull terrier, sleeping in front of the fireplace, roused himself and sat up on his haunches, his ears twitching. What had he heard? My attention was entirely directed toward him. I saw him get up slowly, his short hair bristling, and stand perfectly rigid. A few seconds later, Frank came into the room. And if I ever saw stark horror in a human face, I saw it then. I wouldn't have recognized him had I met him on the street. He rushed over to me, and when he spoke, his voice was a ghastly whisper. "Run! Run!" he said. "It's after me!" In a moment, he was at the door of the landing. He pulled it open and went bounding down the stairs, unheeding my cries to stop. I heard where I stood the street door open. Then I heard it slam. I was alone in the haunted house. I struggled with myself for a moment. Should I follow Frank? I decided against it. Yes, I was somewhat frightened. But at the same time, my mind refused to believe the incredible things my eyes had witnessed. If I could only keep my wits about me, I was certain nothing could go wrong. I went immediately to Frank's room. In spite of careful searching, I could find no door or even crack in the wall by which the invisible thing could have entered. My own room was the only possibility. I decided to return to my own chamber and wait for the thing to appear again. Once inside, I shut and locked the door to the hall. Then I stood by the fireplace, expectant and prepared. It was then I missed my dog. Horror seized me, for he was my only companion now. Looking around, I saw him slunk into an angle in the wall, as if literally trying to force his way through it. I went over and spoke to him. The poor beast was beside himself with terror. His teeth were bared, foam dripped from his lips. And my favorite pet would certainly have bitten me had I dared touch him. And so, though I wanted badly to comfort him, and in fact needed comfort myself, I left him alone. Taking a deep breath, I put my weapons, gun and dagger, back on the table, lit my pipe, and seating myself near the fire, began to read. It was only a few minutes before I became aware of something standing between the page and the light. I had heard nothing, I'd seen nothing, only a deep shadow on the printed page. I looked up and saw, how can I describe the horrible sight? It was a darkness shaping itself out of the air in an undefined outline. I cannot say it was a human form, and yet it looked more like a human form than anything else, except that it was gigantic, stretching from the floor to the ceiling. While I gazed, a feeling of intense cold seized me. I couldn't have been chilled more by an iceberg. And to this I will swear. The cold I felt was not only the freezing chill of fear. At one moment, I thought I saw two eyes staring at me from that great height. I tried to speak, but my voice failed me. I could only think to myself, it is from fear like this that men die. I tried to get up, but I was held down by some invisible force. An immense and overpowering will was pitted against mine, a will that was as superior to mine as the strength of storm, fire, and flood are superior to man's. And now, as this impression grew on me, came horror. Horror to a degree impossible to convey in words. I knew if I surrendered to it now, I was lost. With a violent effort, I succeeded at last in stretching out my hand to the revolver on the table. As I did so, a heavy blow fell on my wrist and another on my shoulder. My arm fell to my side, powerless. Now, to my added horror, the flames of the candle suddenly flickered violently and went out. I was in total darkness. This was too much. I must break through this horror. With a supreme effort of will, I steeled myself and found voice. Yes, I found voice, though that voice was but a scream of wingless terror. Yet it was enough to break the spell. I rushed to one of the windows, and tearing the curtains aside, I flung the shutters open. When I saw the moon, high, clear, and calm, some part of my fright vanished. I turned to look back into the room. The dark thing, whatever it was, had disappeared, except that I could still see a faint shadow against the opposite wall. My eye next rested on the table. Then it was that horror returned, as I saw from under the table a hand rising, a hand seemingly cut off at the wrist. It was a human hand, an old woman's hand with skin that was parched and wrinkled. Slowly, the hand closed over the two letters that lay on the table, and in a flash, hand and letters vanished. Then once again, I heard on the headboard of my bed the three loud knocks. As these sounds ceased, I felt the whole room vibrate, and at the far end, sparks suddenly began to rise from the floor, green, yellow, blue, and red sparks. A chair then moved itself away from the wall and placed itself at one end of the table. I blinked my eyes. This must be a delusion. When I opened them again, I'd see nothing. But I was wrong. The next time I looked at that chair, I saw, as if growing out of it, a woman's shape, ghastly as the shape of death. The face was that of a young girl, a girl with a strange, mournful beauty. Her throat and shoulders were bare. The rest of her form was enveloped in a gown of cloudy white. The figure began combing its long yellow hair, which fell over its shoulders. Its eyes weren't turned toward me, but toward the door. It seemed listening, watching, waiting. The shadow in the background grew darker. I thought I saw eyes gleaming from the top of it, eyes that were now fixed on the shape of what had once been a girl. My ordeal of horror wasn't yet over. Coming through the locked door, I saw another shape take form, a shape equally distinct as the girl's and equally ghastly. It was the shape of a young man dressed in a costume of the 1700s. There was something terribly incongruous, grotesque, yes, even frightening in the contrast between the elaborate finery of his dress, with its ruffles and lace and buckles, and the corpse-like look and ghost-like stillness of the creature who wore it. Just as the shape of the young man approached the shape of the girl, the shadow suddenly darted from the wall, and for a moment all three were enveloped in darkness. When the pale light returned, the two phantoms were in the grasp of the shadow which towered above them and kept them separated. And there was a dark stain on the cloudy white garments of the girl, just where her heart might have been. The young man was leaning on his sword. Only a moment was given me to see this horrible sight. Then the shadow descended again, and they were gone. The closet door to the right of the fireplace now opened. and from it came the form of an old woman. In her hand she held letters, the very letters over which I'd seen the hand close, and behind her I heard a footstep. She turned as if to listen. Then she opened the letters and seemed to read, and over her shoulder I saw a livid face. The face of a man long drowned, with seaweed tangled in his dripping hair. And at her feet there was a child, a weeping child. Even as I stared with unbelieving eyes at this fantastic tableau, the wrinkles and lines in the old woman's face disappeared, and it became the face of a young girl. Then once more the gigantic shadow darted from the wall and blotted out the whole mad scene. Nothing now was left but the dark shadow, and on that my eyes remained fixed. Suddenly, bubbles of light began to dance once more, shooting from the floor, bubbles of every color and shape imaginable. Sometimes I felt myself touched, but not by them. Invisible hands touched me. Once I felt the clutch of cold, soft fingers at my throat. I was still conscious that if I gave way to fear, I might never emerge from that house alive. I knew that there was a will working against me, a will of intense evil, which could easily crush my own. I determined not to surrender. Marshaling all my strength, I started to concentrate on fighting it out. But it was an unequal struggle. As the dark shadow started moving toward me, and a great burst of colored flame shot its terrifying bolt, I fell senseless to the floor. All right, Johnny, turn up the lights.
Hey, Hey, this isn't a true story, is it, Mystery Man?
Of course not, Johnny.
But you said that Mr. Bulwer Lytton had explanations for all the supernatural things that happened.
Well, I didn't quite say that, Ruth. What I did say, or at least what I meant to say, was that Bulwer Lytton tries to explain why the storyteller saw the ghostly manifestations.
Well, how can there be any explanation for people appearing and disappearing and hands reaching out for things in black shadows?
You haven't a very good memory, Johnny. Remember the story of the haunted lighthouse?
Sure.
Remember how there seemed to be no logical explanation for the voice that said, "You'll die too"?
Oh, yeah, but that was the wind. How's he going to explain the things he saw?
Well, suppose we wait and see. Tomorrow we'll continue with Chapter 4 of The Haunters and the Haunted. Same time, and for our radio listeners, the same station. I'll be waiting for you at the House of Mystery. This is Roger Elliott, your mystery man, saying good night.
This is the House of Mystery. This is Roger Elliott, otherwise known as the Mystery Man, welcoming you to another storytelling session here at the House of Mystery. Beware the night of Halloween, when ghosts and goblins creep and glide. Beware the night of Halloween, when witches ride. Yes, next Wednesday, October 31st, is Halloween. But here at the House of Mystery, we're celebrating Halloween today. Now, for the benefit of our radio listeners, I think I should describe how our meeting room is decorated. Ruth and Marilyn and a few of the other girls spent all morning fixing it up for our Halloween party. There are black witches on broomsticks riding across the ceiling, the skeletons dancing along the walls, a great big spooky owl perched on top of my bookcase, and a tremendous jack-o'-lantern hanging from the light fixture in the center of the room. Yes, it looks like we're going to have quite a party. Oh, incidentally, Ruth, what's that big bowl of water on the table?
Well, we're going to bob for apples. You know, you put some apples in the water, and then you stick your face in the bowl and try to pick up an apple with your teeth.
And the one who picks up an apple gets it, is that it?
Yes, but most of the time, all you get is a wet face.
Well, at least Johnny will get his face washed painlessly. Did your mother bake that wonderful Halloween cake on the table, Ruth?
Yes, and it has fortunes in it.
Fortune?
Yes, there's a key and a ring and a penny, a button, a symbol, and a lot of other things baked right into the cake. And when we cut it later and we give everybody a piece of it, whatever they get in their piece tells their fortune.
What happens if I get the ring?
Well, that means you're going to get married soon.
Well, what does a penny mean?
It means you're going to be rich.
Oh, boy, that's for me.
I've got a list of all the fortunes here. I copied them out of the Halloween book.
Oh, we should have a lot of fun with that cake. Hey, what's in that box on the table?
Oh, I forgot. There's some toasteroons that my mother made.
Some toaster what?
Johnny, you got a memory about as long as a flea's whisker. Don't you remember last Saturday Ruth was telling us about some wonderful cookies her mother makes out of Post Toasties?
Oh, yeah. The recipe's on the side of the Post Toasties box.
That's right. They're called toasteroons. They look wonderful, Ruth.
Well, there are 3 different kinds, Mr. Man. Some with lemon flavor, and some with dates, and some with nuts.
May I have one?
Oh, certainly, of course.
Thank you.
Shall I pass them around now?
Well, you'd better, or Johnny's tongue will drop right out of his mouth.
May I have one, please?
Yes, here's one.
Gee, thanks. I'll take a lemon.
I have one of the
best
kinds. You're welcome.
Well, they taste as wonderful as they look. I'm sorry we can't pass Ruth's toasteroons to everyone who's listening in because they're really delicious. How about it, Johnny?
They're swell. They're better than candy.
Are they very hard to make, Ruth?
Oh, no, they're very easy. You just follow the recipe on the side panel of the Post Toasties box. Anyone can make them.
Did you hear that, all you House of Mystery radio listeners? Ruth says the toasteroons are easy to make. All you do is follow the simple recipe on the side panel of the Post Toasties box. And they really are delicious. Crisp and crunchy and toasty brown, just like Post Toasties themselves.
Oh, they sure are good.
And Johnny hit the nail on the head. They're really better than candy. I'm sure Mother'd be glad to make you a batch of toasteroons, especially since they don't take any sugar at all. Or maybe you can even make them yourself if it's that easy.
And if you got any left over, send them to me, especially the ones with dates in them.
Now, why should any of the girls send you toasteroons, Johnny? You refused to send that girl in Massachusetts your picture.
Well, she sends me some toasteroons. Maybe I'll send her my picture. Maybe.
Now, don't make any bargains. If you want toasteroons, you ask your mother to make them for you.
Would you like another one, Mystery Man?
Oh, I certainly would. Thank you, Ruth.
Well, how about you, Johnny?
Does a fish like to swim?
Mystery Man.
Yes, Richard?
Well, I was thinking that since we're sort of celebrating Halloween here at the House of Mystery today, you might be able to tell us how Halloween started. I tried to look it up in the encyclopedia last night, but I couldn't find very much about it. It just said that Halloween was originally called All Souls Day.
That's right. And then it became All Saints Day, and finally, All Hallows Day. A hallow, you see, is a saint. The word Halloween was originally Hallow-even, meaning the eve or night of All Hallows Day.
Well, why are all the spooks supposed to come out on Halloween?
Well, that goes a long way back, Johnny, when people worshipped the sun because it gave heat and light and made things grow out of the ground. But then along about the middle of October each year, the sun lost some of its heat and the living things in the ground began to wither and die. And the superstitious people of the day believed that ghosts and goblins and witches were making this happen. And so they locked themselves in their houses until these supposedly lost souls, the ghosts and goblins, withered the grass and the leaves and then returned to the shades of darkness for another year. They didn't know much about the changes of seasons, and they blamed the evil spirits for bringing winter. In fact, that's one of the reasons we celebrate May Day on the 1st of May every year. It's the day when the good spirits supposedly come out and start things growing again. Well, of course, we know that it's the heat of the sun that really starts things growing, but centuries ago they didn't. And so now, all over the world, All Hallows Day and Halloween are celebrated in pretty much the same way.
Yeah, I see why. Well, do you know why everyone cuts faces and pumpkins and puts candles in them? Does that mean anything? Something?
Well, Richard, there are a number of explanations as to how the use of jack-o'-lanterns started. The Irish version is that a very stingy man named Jack was barred from heaven because of his stinginess. And because he played tricks on the devil, he was barred from hell, too. And so he found himself a lost soul on Halloween. Well, one night, he went into a field, hollowed out a pumpkin, cut some holes in it, and put a candle inside. And from then on, he wandered the earth, carrying his lantern to light the way. And he came to be known as Jack of the Lantern, or Jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, I never heard that before.
I believe that the custom of having huge bonfires on Halloween began in Scotland. The fires were supposed to burn the witches and evil spirits.
Some of the kids have a fire on our block every Halloween, but then the fire engines come and put it out.
Well, Halloween fires are dangerous things, especially in the city. You really don't need a fire to celebrate Halloween. There are so many other things you can do.
Some of the boys ring doorbells and mark everyone up with chalk.
Well, that's pretty harmless fun, but fires can sometimes be serious. I think the best way to celebrate Halloween is with a party like we're having. Play games and have good things to eat and maybe even tell a ghost story.
Are you going to tell us a ghost story? A real one?
What's a real ghost story, Johnny?
One about a ghost. I know there aren't any ghosts, but can't we just kind of make believe on account of it's Halloween?
Sure we can. Making believe is sometimes a lot of fun. Now, let's see. A real ghost story.
Something spooky.
Well, I know one. It's not really spooky. Or maybe it is. It's called The Ghost Who Forgot Halloween.
Oh, that ought to be good.
Would you like to hear it?
Oh, sure, yeah. I would, too.
All right. Now, Johnny, you pull down the shades.
Okay.
And, Richard, you light the candle in the jack-o'-lantern so we can have the right ghostly atmosphere. Here's a match, Richard. Be careful.
Thank you.
That's fine. Now for the story of the ghost who forgot Halloween. Wilbur Kennesaw Smith was a ghost. He was named Wilbur after his great-grandfather, a very famous old ghost, who unfortunately was floating through the darkness one night when he got his sheet caught in a windmill, and that was the end of it. He was named Kennesaw after his uncle, who, sad to say, died of ghostly pneumonia while haunting an explorer at the North Pole. And he was named Smith because that was his father's name. Now, Wilbur, for the most part, was a happy, easygoing little ghost. His father and mother loved him dearly and were certain he'd grow up to be a very successful apparition. But Wilbur had one bad thought. He was always falling asleep.
I'm so tired. I'm always so tired.
Yes, Wilbur was always tired. He was tired at school and he was tired at play, and it worried his father and mother very much. Mother Ghost thought it was because he was a growing ghost. And that as he grew older, he wouldn't be tired anymore. But Wilbur seemed to grow more tired every day. Now, Wilbur went to school just like all boys and girls do, except that being a ghost, he went to school at night. And instead of learning reading and writing, he learned moaning and groaning. And instead of addition and subtraction, he learned appearing and disappearing. And lots of other things, too. Sheet flapping and chain rattling and plain and fancy haunting and floating on air and everything a ghost should know to be a really good ghost. But Wilbur's trouble was that he didn't pay attention in school. And the reason he didn't pay attention was that he was always sleepy. His teacher's name was Miss Spook, and sometimes she became very angry with him. One night in the classroom...
And now, class, I'm going to test you in moaning and groaning. Wilbur Kennesaw Smith. Wilbur Kennesaw Smith. Wilbur, don't you hear me?
Oh, yes, Miss Spook.
This is your final test in moaning and groaning, Wilbur. Go ahead. Moan for me. That, Wilbur, is a yawn, not a moan. Now moan. Oh, good heavens. Is that what you call a moan? Why, I wouldn't even frighten a caterpillar, let alone a human being. Now listen to me. This is a moan. There, you see? Now you try it, Wilbur. I said you try it. Wilbur, you're snoring. You're fast asleep.
Yes, Wilbur was fast asleep, floating over his desk. Well, Miss Spook didn't know what to do with Wilbur. She spoke to the principal of the school, Mr. Rattlebones, and he called Wilbur in for a little talk.
What seems to be the trouble, Wilbur?
Oh, trouble? There isn't any trouble.
Don't you get enough sleep in the daytime? Is that why you can't stay awake at night like every other ghost?
I sleep all day, but I'm still tired.
Well, Miss Spook tells me she can't possibly promote you unless you do better in class. And here it is, only 2 nights before Halloween. Promotion night. You don't want to be left back, do you?
No, Mr. Rattlebone.
You want to go out into the world and haunt people, don't you?
Yes, Mr. Rattlebone.
Well, you certainly don't seem to be trying very hard. You know, Wilbur, I was your father's teacher when he went to this school. Oh, he was a wonderful pupil. I remember when he took his final test in appearing and disappearing. Oh, I remember that very well. Your father, Wilbur, disappeared, and he didn't come back for 2 weeks. 2 whole weeks. That's something.
Was he tired, too?
No, not at all. Why, when he was young, he could moan and groan for days without stopping.
I wish I was like my father.
Well, there's no reason why you can't be, Wilbur. I'm going to have a talk with your teacher, Miss Spook, and maybe I can get her to agree that if you pass your haunting test on Halloween, she'll promote you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Rattlebone.
But remember, Wilbur, you must pass the haunting test. No pupil in this school can be promoted unless he can haunt. Because if a ghost can't haunt, he might just as well be a human being.
was all excited when he got home from school that night. He told his mother and father about the haunting test on Halloween and how, if he passed, he'd be promoted. They were so happy and so proud, Wilbur's father promised to let him use his oldest and rustiest set of chains to plank. And Wilbur's mother said she'd make him a brand new sheet out of ghostly white material. And Wilbur's old Uncle Henry, who'd given up haunting because the night air was bad for his rheumatism, offered to lend Wilbur 2 of his dried-up bones.
Oh, I never knew nothing that could scare the living daylight out of them human beings. Wilbur, as the rattling of the dry bones.
And so Wilbur was all equipped to pass his Halloween haunting test with high honors. An old rusty chain that clanked horribly. A brand new sheet that flapped in the wind. And bones so dry they made you shiver when they rattled. What more could any ghost ask? Wilbur was actually floating on air. Now he couldn't help but be promoted. The following night at Ghost School, Miss Spook gave the class final instruction.
Tomorrow, as you undoubtedly know, is All Hallows Day. And tomorrow night is Halloween. The one night in the year when ghosts and goblins are permitted to roam the earth. As is only proper, we are holding our final examinations tomorrow night, the night of Halloween. You will find your assignments posted on the bulletin board. Please note them carefully as you float out after class. Now we will have some practice in moaning and groaning. Wilbur, are you paying attention?
Yes.
All right, then. All together now. Moan. Groan. Moan. Groan.
It was almost dawn when Wilbur floated home from his last night at school before the final examination. He went to bed immediately, slept like a log, and awoke bright and late that same day, just as darkness was creeping over the countryside. He remembered, as he pulled his brand new sheet over his head, that his assignment was to haunt a little graveyard down by the railroad tracks, and at the witching hour of midnight, frighten any human beings who happened to come by. He washed his face with evening mist, brushed his teeth with ectoplasm, ate a big, huge bowl of ghost toasties with invisible milk, and was ready to leave. By that time, it was quite dark, a perfect night for haunting. Wilbur's mother and father floated down as far as the hollow with him. Then they disappeared, and Wilbur was left all alone. He drifted through the valley until he came to the tiny graveyard he was supposed to haunt. There he scurried around among the gravestones and markers, groaning and moaning, and clanking his chain, and flapping his sheet, and rattling his old Uncle Henry's bones. Why, haunting wasn't hard at all. There was nothing to it. In fact, it was great fun. Wilbur floated over the graveyard, wheeling and dipping, making believe he was a ghostly airplane. Suddenly, he stopped short in midair. 2 huge green eyes were staring at him out of the darkness. The next moment, he heard a sound that sent shivers up his spine. Again, he heard the strange, frightening sound. Wilbur turned pale as a human, and he would have floated out of that graveyard as fast as he could if his father's rusty old chain hadn't suddenly caught on a headstone. And it was lucky for Wilbur that it did, because the next moment the huge green eyes blinked, and a weird voice came out of the darkness.
Don't be afraid of me, little ghost. I'm just an old doll. On Halloween, I fight the silly people too.
And laughing deep down in his feathers, the old hoot owl flew off the limb of the tree on which he'd been sitting and vanished. Poor Wilbur, trembling like a leaf, loosened the rusty old chain, picked up his Uncle Henry's bones, he dropped them in his fright, and with a deep sigh settled himself on top of a large, flat gravestone and draped his sheet around him. He'd suddenly become very tired. He looked up at the sky. Now the stars were winking and blinking, and there was a quarter moon that looked like a silver watermelon rind. All was quiet and peaceful. So quiet and peaceful, in fact, that Wilbur completely forgot it was Halloween, that he was supposed to be taking his final examination. Oh, my, is that Wilbur yawning? Yes, it is Wilbur. And he's falling asleep. Wilbur's fast asleep, almost 2 hours before midnight, with most of his haunting left undone. What will happen now? Well, in a little while, the old hoot owl returned to his perch on the limb of the tree. He looked about for Wilbur and discovered him asleep on the gravestone. Now, he was a wise old owl, as owls usually are, and he knew that the last thing a ghost should do is fall asleep on Halloween. So he hooted and hooted until he was almost blue in the beak. But Wilbur didn't wake up. In fact, Wilbur didn't wake up for a long time. Not until a rooster on a nearby farm started to crow. Then he sat up with a jerk. He blinked 3 times. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and dawn was beginning to light the sky in the east. And there, seated on the iron picket fence surrounding the tiny graveyard, were his mother, his father, all the other ghosts and goblins, and, worst of all, Miss Spook, his teacher. Wilbur tried hard to hold back his tears. He hadn't meant to forget Halloween. He hadn't meant to fall asleep. He trembled as his teacher got off the picket fence and floated over to him.
Well, Wilbur, what have you to say for yourself?
I'm sorry, Miss Spook.
Is that all?
I didn't mean to fall asleep, but I was so tired.
That seems to be your trouble, Wilbur. You're always so tired. We've got to teach you a lesson. Any ghost who forgets Halloween and falls asleep in the middle of haunting must be taught a lesson. Let me have your sheet.
My sheet?
Yes, your sheet. Thank you.
I'm cold just sitting here in my bones.
That's too bad. You'll just have to get used to it. From now on, you're not going to be allowed to wear a sheet. You'll have to walk around in your bones until you prove to me that you have learned how to haunt without falling asleep. And until that time, you will not be promoted.
And so, boys and girls, and grown-ups too, this coming Halloween, if you should happen to see a sleepy little ghost walking around in his bare bones, remember that it's Wilbur. Wilbur Kennesaw Smith. He's looking for someone to haunt so that he can be promoted and get his sheet back. So if you do meet Wilbur, be kind to him and let him haunt you, won't you? And in case he should yawn right in the middle of the haunting, tickle him in the ribs to keep him awake so that this Halloween, Wilbur can be promoted.
Please, let me haunt you.
And that's the story of the ghost who forgot Halloween.
That's not the kind of ghost story I meant.
Oh, didn't you like it, Johnny?
Oh, yeah. It was all right, but, I think it was wonderful, Johnny. The trouble with you is you always want creepy things. I'll always remember Wilbur from now on, and if ever I meet him, I will let him haunt me.
I'm sorry if I disappointed you, Johnny.
Oh, no. It was all right. One part made me laugh.
What was that?
The part where you said that Wilbur had a great big bowl of ghost toasties with invisible milk.
You wouldn't like that, would you, Johnny?
No, sirree. Wilbur can have his ghost toasties. I'll take real honest-to-goodness post toasties with the kind of milk you can see.
I can't say that I blame you, Johnny. As a matter of fact, like Wilbur, post toasties are so bubbly light they almost do float.
Have you ever tried post toasties with stewed peaches, Mystery Man?
No, I haven't, Ruth. Are they good?
They're wonderful. I have them with bananas lots of times.
Mystery Man?
Yes, Richard.
My friend's mother says that hot cereals are better for you than cold cereals in the wintertime. Is that true?
Not at all. It isn't the external heat of the food that counts. It's the amount of heat the food produces once it gets inside your body.
Oh.
Now, for instance, a glass of cold milk produces much more body heat or food energy than a cup of boiling hot water. Up around the North Pole, the Eskimos live all winter long on cold blubber and seal fat because it produces a great deal of body heat.
Carbohydrates produce body heat, don't they?
That's right, Richard. Certain elements in food are called carbohydrates, heat and energy-producing elements. Sugar's one of them, and starch is another, both of which you get in Post Toasties. So you tell your friend's mother that we'll match Post Toasties up against any other breakfast cereal, hot, cold, or lukewarm, for energy and for goodness, winter, summer, spring, or fall. And with all that, Post Toasties taste so good. Always crisp, always toasty brown, always bubbly light. Never soggy or mushy or lumpy. Right, Johnny?
You bet. Post toasties are top. Now, how about let's duck for apples?
I'm afraid we're not going to have time for that while we're still on the air because I want to tell you something about next week's mystery story.
Can't we even cut the Halloween cake and find out what kind of fortunes we get?
Do you want the fortune of the cake, Johnny? Confess.
Well, I could eat a hunk of cake.
All right, Ruth. Suppose you cut Johnny's piece so we can have his fortune told and incidentally wrap himself around some cake. While I tell you about next week's story. It was on the stage of a supposedly haunted theater that the ghost of a great Hamlet was supposed to walk, hand in hand, with death. The solution of the mystery escaped me until I realized that the only possible answer was the most obvious one of all. Next week, I'd like to see if you can guess, as I had to, the natural explanation of the seemingly supernatural phenomenon in the story I call Death Takes the Stage. Well, Johnny, did you find your fortune yet?
No. There's no fortune in this piece. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, here it is.
What is it?
Oh, it's the ring. Johnny's going to get married. Who believes in fortune? Not me.
No, I'm sure someday you'll get married, Johnny.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we won't worry about it now. I see our time's up anyway. We meet again next week, of course, at the same time, and for our radio listeners, this same station.
And don't forget, if anybody's got any toasteroons they want to get rid of, send them to me.
Johnny, how can you ask for toasteroons with a mouthful of cake?
I did, didn't I?
I give up. Now, remember to be with us next Saturday to hear Death Takes the Stage. I'll be waiting for you at the House of Mystery. This is Roger Elliott, your mystery man, saying goodbye until next Saturday at this same time. And reminding you that Post Toasties is a goodbye, too.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.